predating Greek thought, right? Even predating the word logos was the memra, or the word of Yahweh, which did exist back in Genesis.
Sorry,
Yep,
my
you're good.
at me. Yeah, no, I understand that, but again, when somebody like Philo is using it, he's not using it in its divine nature either. He's using it as just there's an order to things.
I will say I would disagree with Philo. I would agree with everyone else that you just mentioned, but not Philo, because he tied it to the actual word of Yahweh. And that was a personal, he thought, manifestation of the Father, not necessarily Yahweh coming to earth,
No,
but a divine agent.
Philo was Hellenistic, so he didn't have traditional Jewish views. He had Hellenized Jewish views.
Well,
So there's
you're right, I
he
get
was a
it.
Hellenized Jew. So understand that as a Hellenized Jew, he didn't see he didn't see the he didn't see God in that way. Well, first of all, Jewish people don't see, even non-Hellenized Jewish don't see God in that same way. You know that in Jewish theology, God is not perfect.
No, I understand, but I
Okay,
don't
so
even, I'm
thereby
saying,
this order of things isn't attributed to a deity that they already know is not perfect. And the reason we know that they knew it wasn't perfect is because you have people writing in the Talmud, the rabbis arguing whether what God did here or there was good or bad. When they said that we were a reflection of God, and that we as a reflection of God also fell. The reason that we fell is because we were imperfect. Why were we imperfect? Because we were created by a deity that also does imperfect things. Because God in Isaiah 45:7 says that he creates both good and evil, calamity and peace, and so on and so forth. So thereby, he does not make absolute righteous decisions. Here's what the Jewish people do with that, though. Because they know he doesn't make righteous decisions, and because they know they don't make righteous decisions, they learn from those mistakes. That's what they wrote. That's why they wrote the Talmud, to learn from those mistakes. Now, in a logos type situation, that wouldn't be possible, because a logos would be a perfect order. And Philo didn't believe in a perfect order.
okay, but I think we're going far, 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 because Philo did. My only point with Philo was that he did associate the Logos with the living God, and specifically with the word of Yahweh. And why this is important is because the word became flesh. So yes, there were ancient Jewish thinkers even before Christianity that did equate the word with God, and as that acting agent of God that we're going to see. So all this other stuff about Philo, like, I mean, I'm not like a Philo fan or anything. I'm just saying this thought of the word and the logos is also in Jewish.
Yes, it is, but Philo used it from the perspective of the Stoics, and he literally actually made that coined that ideology of taking it from the Stoic philosophy. He was taking it as an intermediary, not from the word itself, not from the logos itself being God, not from the logos itself being Yahweh itself, but being an intermediary. And how the order is created is through the fact that we as humans interact with Yahweh, and that logos stands between where we are and where Yahweh is. How order is created in the universe is between the interaction between man and Yahweh, not because Yahweh itself is the logos. He never said that. And he
Correct.
actually talks about it and relates it to how the Stoics utilized logos. And so knowing that, again, Yahweh or God is not that order. It is the interaction between us that allows us to create the order. The perplexity of Maimonides, that Maimonides talks about, the perplexed nature that exists between us and God, that we wrestle with, and that God wrestles with us, is what allows for order to come out of that perplexed nature. It's chaos. It's chaos birthing order.
So, okay, so I'm going to read you. This is just one quote from Philo, okay? I think this is going to sum it up from what I'm trying to say. It says, "For the Father of the universe has caused him, the Logos, to spring up as the eldest son." This almost sounds like a Christian wrote it. "Whom in another passage he calls the firstborn, and who is thus born, imitating the ways of his father." Why?
Who is the
Born
Father?
as such.
Who is the Father?
The Father is obviously going to be Yahweh.
No,
Hashem.
it's not.
Hold on.
No, it's not.
Wait, hold on. I wasn't even done. What? We were having a peaceful, calm conversation.
I know, but you're not taking into account that Jewish people were henotheistic, not monotheistic.
Wait. Hold on. So they are monotheistic. There are some that are
No,
polytheistic.
they're henotheistic. Why do you think in Deuteronomy it talks about El giving? Hold on. Why do you think it talks about El in Deuteronomy giving the portions of the land?
Hold on. Stop. First of all, I don't know why you're all of a sudden becoming very combative. That's number one. Number two, I understand the verse that you're talking about in Deuteronomy.
Okay,
But you
every time that you hear the word Father, it doesn't refer to Yahweh. In Jewish theology, when you hear the word Father, it's referring to El, not
That's
Yahweh.
not true. You know what? You're not. I'm actually, Coco, respectfully, I'm going to go ahead and bow out. Matthew, if you want to have this conversation later, because what I don't like is this new interpretation of Judaism that keeps popping up in this live. I don't like that. You are actually not accurate. I can bring you several Orthodox Jews right now that would at that. Because no, Yahweh Hashem is their God. Hero Israel, Yahweh, our Elohim is one. This is why Jews and Christians have such a problem together, because they feel that we are associating a partner with God. They feel that we are polytheists. They don't even feel that Christians are true monotheists. So I understand where you've got your information. This has been a beautiful conversation up until now, but I don't want this to go south. So God bless you guys. I'll just come back later.
Yep, and see you in a bit, Wisdom. Also, by the way, guys, I figured out what the echo was. Yes, there was an echo in the live, but also on my MacBook when I was like watching the live, I'm streaming Hogwarts Legacy on Twitch. I had my stream open on YouTube and on TikTok, so that's why I was getting like echo. So that was stupid of me, but you know, I figured it out. I was like, what was that? So the whole time it was okay, for the most part. But yeah. But no, life is good, yeah. Thank you guys for being here. There's 30 people in the live. We really appreciate it. If you can, tap your screens, like the live, share the live so we can get ops. And yeah, that would really help. My name is Mr. Coco. I'm an agnostic. And I'm open-minded to God existing, but I'm not really convinced that he exists. And I kind of lean towards atheism, to be honest. But yeah,
I was going to answer that like tag question that was presented, but not here to answer it to anymore.
What was the tag question?
It was just a kind of a discussion about whether or not, with the discussion of the logos within the text, if it would be like accurate to say that this is an objective truth and would be evidence for the God. Okay. And the basic answer to this is, if this is the interpretation that you're taking from the text and are capable of, and you're like believing in it and capable of defending it, then you have a justification for saying that is your grounding of information and your reasoning for believing in a God. But it wouldn't be a position where you could say that that is the evidence of a God due to no other explanation for the truth. You would still have any other possible explanation you'd have to account with.
Because science can show you that there's an order to things, just like you can do in theology, but you're basing your theological stance on an outside immeasurable force creating that order, whereas in science we can show that order through the fact that amino acids create proteins, proteins create protein folding creates DNA, RNA DNA creates one-celled life, so on and so forth. We can create that order. There's no God in that. There's still order in that, but there's no God in that. And logos, all that logos means is an order, a process.
Yeah. So like what I was saying is, I was just gonna make it a little simpler than that. Even if you look into either a deterministic or a physicalist position, you're going to have a representation that allows for a truth to exist, and that's all that's required.
Because Stoicism was a sort of a precursor. I mean, at that same time, you had these, you had monistic ideology. Monistic ideology. I'm a monist. That's why my name's Monadic Sphere. I'm an atheistic monist because monists were an early philosophy that were atheistic in nature. There was no need for a deity in monistic theology, in monistic philosophy. There was no need for one. Now, there is a form of monism when you start getting out to pantheism, which derives out of monism. You start getting into that ideology where they start bringing theism back into it. But pure neutral and physical monism, absolutely no need for a deity.
Yeah.
And these people, when they were using that word logos during the time of the Stoics, at pre-Socratic philosophy, right? They were utilizing it in a very atheistic way. They weren't. There was no higher spiritual concept to it. Now later, when things like pantheism and paganism and other things started to bring their way into philosophy, they started putting God in everything. But that's not how that was originally used. And it was used in a very scientific manner, the same way that I just showed you that there's an order to the scientific processes of natural order. And that's really all it meant. And like I said, Philo, who was a Hellenized Jew, believed in a very orderly Stoic version or pre-Socratic version of logos. And he said that the only reason that order gets created is because when we interact with something that seems to be more divine and we wrestle with that, we create things that allow us to see order in things. Well, yeah, because we do that. Humans have a perception where we like to create order. I agree with that. And Philo was that's exactly what Philo was saying, is that we as humans like to find order in things.
But where does that innate ability come from?
It
just comes from the properties of that which exists.
It comes from our survivalist nature that to find order allows us to feel safe and comfortable, and the safe and comfortable nature is what we need to feel like we are going to survive. And we've done that since before we even had religion. We lived on this earth as Homo sapiens for 250,000 years before we had the first religious ideology.
Well, I understand your take on as far as religious ideology, and I also think religion is a very broad term, because religion, in my estimation, is someone's attempt to try to make sense out of something that they know that is there, but they're trying to do a work in order to
by utilizing a separate and autonomous will. And we didn't start utilizing a separate and autonomous will.
I'm a Christian. Yeah, I get it. I'm a Christian, by the way, as a quick little disclaimer. So what is your feeling about the second law of thermodynamics? Let's kind of back it up a little bit.
It has nothing to do with whether or not there's a God.
No, I get it. So if there is, just kind of going back to the beginning, and my job is not to try to...
The beginning of what?
My job is not to try to convince you. You already have made up in your mind.
The beginning of what, though?
So as a Christian, I believe
the beginning of what? I'm asking you the beginning. What are you placing that marker?
Hey, guys, chill out. Just chill out just a minute.
Yeah, you have to let everybody first, because I get it that you're very passionate about the topic, but as a Christian, that's not going to deconvert or deconstruct. I believe that there has to be a first cause to the universe.
Why?
And that is God. Something can't come from nothing.
No, nobody's saying that something came from nothing.
No scientist has ever said something came from nothing.
I still don't believe that there is a start to reality.
Wait, let me take this. I want this. So wait, did you say the atheist position was the idea that something came from nothing? Because that's not the
No, no,
atheist position.
no. I believe that something cannot come from nothing, not the atheist position.
Oh,
Atheist
okay.
position, an atheist really shouldn't have a position. That just means that they lack belief in a God. But
Yeah.
there's also traditions like Epicurus, the Stoics. There's traditions that surround that specific belief system, in my estimation, that gives you these parameters for that lack of belief. It's not born in an actual vacuum. So I do believe that because we have irreducible complexity, and that there's a natural order of things and they are all purposeful and intentional, then there has to be a catalyst that has to be orderly in order to bring something into
Doctor, do you
existence.
know that
Wait.
99.99% of all things that have ever come into a living reality, including going all the way down to amino acids, that 99.99% of all of the amino acids that ever exist don't exist currently? We have currently on this planet, we have I believe 2,200 different amino acids, of which 800 exist. I'm sorry, 8,000 amino acids, and 22 of those amino acids can form life. But here's what I'm going to tell you: of the 8,000 that exist, there's another 999% at 0.999% of ones that don't exist anymore. So there's a failure rate there before something finally catches on and creates life. There's a failure rate for every single species that's ever existed on this planet. And there are others,
Okay.
of all the species,
I know, but you keep pulling on my arm.
Yes, but
of all those
Sorry about
species,
that.
there are 99.99% that don't exist. So there's a failure rate there. So let me tell you, that's not perfection. By
things
any
degrade over
stretch of the
time.
imagination, that's not perfection.
Things degrade over time. That's just denaturing.
It's not degrading. It's the fact that certain species try to create themselves and live in the environment, and they die off quickly. So
But
it's
you're
not that
still
they
not asking
degraded.
the
Hold
question,
on.
what was the
It's
initial
not that they
catalyst
degrade.
for
Hold
everything
on,
coming into
doctor.
being?
It's not that they degraded. It's that they tried to form in the environment and could not contribute or could not live in the environment that they tried to form it. So they died off quickly.
So
Yeah,
to answer
you're
your
moving to go.
question,
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure it. Yes.
I don't hold to anything coming into existence. Not a single thing. Everything
Okay.
that exists already existed, just existed in a different form.
But how could that be if things die and if things flame
That's
out?
just changing. That's just changing of form. Like I said, they exist in a
Okay.
different form.
Okay.
But everything that they are comprised of already existed. Everything that they're comprised of is going to go on to be in a different form later that you're going to think of as a new existence of something different.
So how do you
The
know
Big
that?
Bang,
So how do you?
even the Big
So that's
Bang
like an
is
appeal
like.
to authority.
Wait,
So
hold
you're
on, hold
appealing
on.
to
No,
authority.
it's not an appeal to authority.
Yes,
Hold on,
yes,
hold
it
on.
is. So how do you know that?
Wait, guys,
Doctor,
wait.
even the
Hold
Big
on.
Bang right
Hey,
now,
hold
with Ann
on,
Moore's discovery.
Monad.
Hey, I'm trying to say something. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
just want to know how do you know? How did you arrive to that conclusion? It has to be observable. It has to be
wait,
It
repeatable.
is
hold on.
No,
observable.
it does not have to be
Wait,
observable or
guys,
repeatable to say that
guys.
Hold
things
on.
didn't come into existence.
But Ann Moore just made a discovery about
So
4
you
months
advocate
ago.
for
Hold
an
on.
infinite
Ann Moore is a
universe.
physicist who
Wait,
made a
guys.
discovery about
Hold
4
on,
months
hold on.
ago.
Okay.
And I want to tell you about this discovery because this is one of the things that shows that it's likely that something existed prior to the Big Bang.
God.
See, we have to dig huge underground boreholes in the Earth to watch photons because photons actually are small enough they pass through the Earth, right? But as they pass through the Earth, they slow enough that
You're
we can
talking about neutrinos.
neutrinos. Sorry, you're right. Neutrinos. Sorry, and neutrinos in these boreholes, they watch these neutrinos. Neutrinos interact with quantum fields.
But you're describing what things are,
Hold
but
on,
what is the
hold on.
purpose? What is the purpose?
I'm telling
Purpose
you
is
what
not required.
I'm not.
I
I'm telling you
disagree.
what.
Wait, hold
I'm
on.
just,
Okay,
Then
wait,
Doctor,
you disagree with reality.
I'm
Alright, guys,
telling
so
you
let me get a word in.
what's been
Wait, stop,
observed.
stop,
You
stop.
asked for what was observed.
Hey,
I'm
Monad.
telling you what's
Hold
been
on.
observed.
No, I disagree.
Hold
with
on,
your,
Monad.
I disagree
All
with your
right, I'm
premise.
muting now. Hold on. I've been trying to like say something, but yeah, there are going to be like so when it comes to like how the world came into existence, there are going to be like several different like worldviews or like models on that, right? Some people hold
Yeah.
to like an infinite regress, or some people hold to like the universe being eternal. I I'm working on my worldview, and I say that the universe is like finite, but that's only because like scientists have only been able to explore up to like T0, and that's where the science and like the math gets a little bit fuzzy. But I think I'm probably gonna end up like shifting my worldview to like the universe was eternal, and like I agree with what Matthew is saying that like it exists in some kind of form, and it just changes forms throughout time. By doing that, right, I can have more parsimony than like, the Christian who's going to say that God is eternal, right? And that's going to be their presupposition or their axiom, and God created the universe. You can just cut God out and say the universe always existed.
That's how I believe as a monist, that the universe is infinite, has always existed, which means that there's no need for a creator. And because it's an infinite system,
I just don't agree with that. I get what you're saying.
But here's the thing: if you would have listened to what I talked about Anna Moore's discovery 4 months ago, you would have known that that she's stating that the quantum fields affecting these neutrinos are likely quantum fields that existed before the Big Bang. And so the problem then is, if there was something that we now can measure that has a possible existence prior to the Big Bang, that means there was something there. It wasn't just nothing. That means that it's likely a cycle that just keeps repeating itself, and matter keeps changing form. Energy keeps changing form because every time it collapses, it reforms.
Likely isn't absolute.
None of this is absolutes. This is not an absolutism claim.
Okay, so I would just reference this by saying that.
Well, why is it entailed that like the source of our universe has to be like orderly? That's what I was going to ask you earlier.
Yes, I do believe that disorder cannot come from order. You cannot explode into order.
Well,
order, not from disorder, and there's nobody's talking about an explosion. The Big Bang isn't an explosion.
No. I'm just talking about I didn't advocate order.
So nobody's talking about order coming from disorder, but there's no reason order can't come from disorder. It just depends on the properties of that which you're talking about. You can have a disordered system that gravitates towards order as long as the system is set up in a way that allows for it to occur. There's also zero reason for purpose of the system. That is something that we put on it. The why do we exist? It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is do we exist? It matters. No, we're not talking about whether it matters to an individual. We're talking about whether or not it matters to the argument. Why doesn't matter to the argument. How matters to the argument. How could this be is what matters.
So here's the reason why I disagree with that premise. And the reason is, and I'll just give it from a philosophical standpoint. You cannot measure the wind with a ruler.
Yes, you can.
No. I'm talking about a 12-inch. I'm talking about just a regular 12-inch ruler, because that
I can.
A standard of measurement for wind should not just come from something that is used to measure something else. And so
all I have to do is hang up the ruler by a string.
Hold on. The reason why I disagree with your premise, and if anything, it should be an agnostic atheist. It can't be a strict atheist, because you just can't.
I am an atheist.
Yes. So are you an agnostic atheist?
I believe that the God you are discussing does not exist.
Okay, so with that being said, the reason why I have a problem with your worldview is because you rely specifically on evidential as well as epistemological and more importantly, empirical evidence as your measuring stick.
I rely on many things. I rely on argumentation, empirical evidence, the scientific method. I rely on philosophy, logic, many things. What I do not rely on is base assertion without anything to support it.
Yes, I get it. So when it comes to empiricism is the strongest three-legged
stool. Did I say that I only use empiricism?
No. I'm just telling you why I do not agree with you. I'm not trying to impose my beliefs on you, and hopefully you're not trying to do that with me either. But the reason why I do not feel that worldview is a strong one to convince.
I don't think you know what my worldview is.
Is because empiricism is just one way to measure or acquire.
I don't just use empiricism, so could you stop straw manning my position in worldview?
No. I'm just talking about with just atheism, not talking about you personally. So the reason why I do not
Atheism is
agree
not
with
a singular position. You understand that
yeah,
correctly?
it's a moving
Okay,
goalpost. That's
so
why there's
there's
different atheists.
it's
It's just
not a
like there's
moving it
different.
is not a
It's
moving
it's just like
goalpost
there's
because it's
different
not a
sects of
belief
Christianity.
system.
It's different denominations in
Would you
atheism.
would you
It's different.
stop? Would you please stop? Please stop.
So
You are
so I get it.
strawman. Please
So
stop.
no no
I'm
no
asking
no
you. No,
no no
no.
no.
What? No. What? No. I asked you nicely to please stop. Now I'm not going to ask you so nicely. Now I'm going to say be quiet and stop strawmanning positions. If you want to talk about why you hold to something, that's fine. Stop talking about everybody else and saying that everybody else is wrong because of X when they don't hold to X. Atheism is not a belief system. Hey,
Atheism is
hold on,
100% a belief system.
please. All right. So if I have to do this, I will. And you got the most background noise I've ever heard of, Captive. Atheism is not a belief system. It is not. It has no system of belief. It is the answer to one thing. Do you believe in a God? Yes, you are a theist. No, you are an atheist. So since it is a not belief, it can't be a belief system. It's stupid. There is no like hill to die on for atheism because it's not one thing. It is not a singular concept. So stop pretending that it is. You can have atheists that believe in the supernatural. You can have atheists that don't believe reality exists at all. It doesn't matter. Atheism is not a belief system. Now, nobody here is talking about empiricism. So if you don't like empiricism, I don't care. Go for it. Don't like empiricism, but don't put that burden on other people and say you can't accept the position we are discussing because you don't like empiricism. That is not what is being said. So please stop strawmanning other people.
But yeah, basically yeah, atheism is just like one part of a worldview, and then yeah, I'd probably just ask like what his worldview is. But here, let me 1v1 with Doctor so I can understand what he's saying. But go ahead, Doctor. Tell me what points you're gonna make to me. You're muted. Unmute real quick.
So I believe that there are more than one way to acquire knowledge of the world.
Yep.
Empirical, epistemological, cosmological, and teleological. I do not believe that things do not have a purpose. They have to come into existence by a catalyst. Irreducible complexity. The evidence is for the reason why I believe that there is a God outside of the theological ones, and of course, life is my heart. Because wait, pause. Is because I believe that there has to be a first cause. When I look at the world, the creation, all of this stuff that's around me, and how everything intricately works together, as compared to other planets, you guys are probably familiar with the Fermi paradox. There has to be a catalyst for all of these beautiful things in the world. So, and then also the other piece
Not the Fermi paradox.
No. I just talk about Fermi paradox. That's just one of those pieces. So don't let that be a distraction. That's just a shiny object, right? So
then why'd you bring it up?
So the reason why I do not believe, or I do not, how should I say, affirm the of worldview that there is no God is because of creation, purpose, irreducible complexity, knowing that there's more than one way to acquire knowledge in the world, and also just because of how we are made innately as people. We're distinctly different. And so there's not only just materialism, but there's also purpose behind those materials, if you will. And so because of that, that's the reason why, I get it that, nobody should become a person that believes in God just because if it's in a vacuum, right? I was actually an agnostic before I became a Christian, so it wasn't an intellectual pursuit. So that's the reason why I do not affirm why I believe that there is a God. But there's also one theological piece, and then I'll let you guys go forward. It's also love too. So I believe that love is also the strongest evidence for God, because you can't be smart enough to fall in love with a person just because you can't fall in love with a person just because they're smart, or because they look good, or because they have great academic credentials. I can't look at Taylor Swift, just as an example, and just say, I'm going to fall in love with you. We're going to have kids together. You're going to fall in love with me. It has to be organic. It has to be something that actually fits. And so the largest evidence for God is not just empiricism only. It's love. It's something that is organic. It has to be experienced. It has to happen. If you've never fallen in love before, then it's going to be very hard for you to define or even be able to illustrate that it does exist. The only way that you know that it will exist is if you have an encounter with that specific reality. And God is the same way.
So you think no atheist has ever fallen in love?
No.
Wait.
I'm just trying to prove a point.
Yeah, I would say finish your point. There's like
so the last part of that point is that, yes, I know that atheists fall in love, but it's not an object that can be measured. It's just something that organically happens. And so that's the reason why when a person asks, prove to me that God exists, the reason why it is so difficult is because it's just like being smart enough to be able to fall in love. You can't really do that. It has to be experiential. There is no empirical evidence that's going to convince an atheist. There is no epistemological, there's no teleological, and there's no cosmological. It is something that has to inherently, organically happen from God himself to that particular person. Otherwise, it's just futile. So that's my position.
That's a lot of nonsense.
Yeah, so
I get it.
Okay,
no, I don't think you do.
Wait,
no, I do.
Wait, hold on.
So thank you to the host for allowing for me to share my thoughts. I really appreciate it.
Are you really just gonna fucking dip out after that shit?
No, I'm not. I'm just telling him that I appreciate him for giving me a platform to be able to share what I believe and why. So no, I'm not being combative. That's what you're looking for a person to kind of like fight you on that, but I just give it to the host just to say thank you. That's all.
You're totally good. Okay,
unconditional love sustainable? Is unconditional love sustainable?
I have questions. Wait, everyone chill out. Okay. There's like a ton of questions. Like you said a lot of things. There's like a ton of questions. Yeah. You said that there has to be like an origin of the universe. Like there has to be like a starting point, or the universe is like finite or something. Like, wait, how are you coming to that conclusion?
Well, everything has to have a first cause. There has to be something that brings something from.
Wait, hold on. Wait. So stop right there. Yeah, that's like the words that you were using, like first cause. Like, how are you coming to the conclusion that there has to be a first cause?
I mean, just look at the order of everything. In order for there to be, how should I say, it's almost like me kicking a can across the road. We could look at the can and we could see it moving across the road, but there had to be a catalyst or something to initiate that.
Yeah. So I agree. Like there is a catalyst. There is like something that caused it. But, like I'm asking why is there like a first cause? Like the chain stops and there's like something first that caused everything.
Well, it's because of infinite regress. It's kind of like where somebody asks a question, well, who created God, right? So that was supposed to mean that there's something bigger and bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden we have this infinite loop that goes on. But because there is this phenomenon in that world, which is that things die, right, and things degrade, or the second law, I won't say second law of thermodynamics, I misspoke. But because things die and degrade, and because we have stars that were once bright and then they flame out,
just change forms.
That therefore it has to start somewhere.
No, they don't. You already hold to the possibility of infinite regress just believing in an infinite God. So you don't have any problems with an infinite regress. You take special pleading with infinite regress for the God and demand that it is not possible for anything else without substantiating that position.
Well, no, that's because
Dr. A, do you believe that everything is made of particles and atoms? Hold on. Just ask the question. Do you believe that everything is made of particles and atoms?
I believe that everything consists of particles and atoms.
Their building block, their main building block that builds all the things that make us up, every single one of them are made or built from particles and atoms. Do you believe that?
And there's a builder.
Okay, hold on. No. But see, this goes to your idea of first cause. Because here's the thing. There is no point when an atom or a particle has a first cause. They are the particles live and continue to live and continue to exist even after your body doesn't exist, and that all that happens is they just reform into something else. So only thing that's happening here is not an actual ending or an actual ceasing to be. It just means all it is that the building blocks that make the thing that is are just reforming into something else. Every atom that's in you, when you cease to breathe and you get buried in the ground 6 feet under, every atom that makes you up eventually will degrade and become something else. They will the catalyst that holds that atom into the form that it is, that catalyst will degrade, and then the building blocks will be free. The atoms will be free to go on and become and reorganize themselves as something else, which means that is the infinite nature of all things. So there is no first cause.
Okay, so do you believe in the phrase energy cannot be created nor destroyed but only transferred? Is that really where you're coming from?
Transformed.
Then yes, I do believe
And
that.
that's
Okay.
in a closed system. We're not talking about thermodynamics here.
Yeah, I get it. So if you affirm to that, then there has to be something that is eternal to give everything
No,
else
there
its
doesn't.
energy.
No, there doesn't.
Everything can be eternal. It all existed infinitely. It never came into existence.
What is
There's
your proof
no
for
there.
that?
I got a question for Doctor. Hey, Doctor Andre.
Yeah,
Is
just call me Andre.
is unconditional love sustainable?
By who?
Is it sustainable if everyone was to give each other unconditional love infinitely only? Is it sustainable?
It's not possible for humans to give unconditional love.
Hold on. That's not the question. If it's possible, I didn't say is it possible. You're dodging the question.
It's not a good question.
Is it sustainable hypothetically if it was accomplished?
We can't work in hypotheticals. It has to be evidential.
No,
Bro,
we
I
can
argue
easily
that-
work on
You're
hypotheticals.
working
Those
on
are
hypotheticals.
grounding for
Look,
argumentation.
Look, let me tell you.
Your argument has been crap the entire time. We're still asking
No.
questions
Don't make it
about it.
personal. It's not. I'm not.
No,
I'm
you
not
just
mad at
said
you.
he had a bad question.
You
So
talk
I am
about
I'm responding and saying that your argument is bad as well. I just used the word crap instead of bad. But yet we are still engaging in that argumentation.
Okay.
The thing is all the talk about love. Love is a loser, okay? You don't get anything from love. Love only takes from you.
Oh.
People
Well,
loving
my
you
25-year
is great.
marriage says differently.
Look. People loving you is one thing. You loving other people unconditionally is a loser. Okay, you have to sacrifice part of your own life to love people like that. It's not sustainable on its own. So you think about that when you talk about love and God, because there's a lot of people that are soaking up a lot of love when they don't love back. And you can't fix the world with love, with unconditional love.
Love is just an emotion anyway. It's not a substantial thing. It's qualitative, not
Well, it's a
quantitative.
bond. I mean, it's a bond. You got to have bonds with the people you collaborate with in your life. You have to have trust.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a whole different argumentary. But then, yeah, like another question I was going to ask you. Another question I was going to ask you is, like, you were saying, like, God is kind of like love, and like people have to like feel it. But the reason I have issue with that is like our senses can deceive us, and also like there are people who like beg for a relationship with God, but like don't feel it, and they end up becoming like atheists. And it's like we're trying to figure out if like God exists, and I feel like figuring out whether God exists is not going to really rely on our emotions. Like it's going to rely on like we're perceiving data and trying to see if there's clear data that shows that God actually exists. I think like there are people who have feelings, and like they could be wrong about their feelings, or they might just be like interpreting something as God that actually isn't God. So
Well, here's my answer to that. Just using love. So in the example of love is more than just an emotion. So I've been married for 25 years. I got 2 sons.
It's literally not.
No. I'm just giving you I'm just giving you what I believe. I didn't. I'm just giving you what I believe. So, as a person who's been married for 25 years, I know inherently and happily married, I know that love is more than a feeling. It's a series of actions, deliberate actions, and a healthy marriage, if you will. It's a series of deliberate actions that you have towards another person because you
No,
care.
that's not love. That's being loving.
That's commitment.
That's an
I get it.
action
I
of
get it.
love. Just like if fight isn't hate, a fight isn't anger, a fight is a fight. A fight
Yes.
can be done out of anger. An action to your loved one is not love. It is an action taken due to love.
Yes,
Love is an emotion.
yes. So but it's I understand that the Western world likes to see things in black and white, but from the Eastern world, it's both and. It's not only
Where
a
are you
feeling,
getting what
it's
Eastern religion or
it's
philosophy are you getting that from?
it's not only an emotion, but it's also actions.
No,
And it's
I
a
want to know
feeling.
what Eastern like philosophy you're getting that from.
Okay, so in the Western world, we have a
No,
tendency to
no,
see
no,
things
no, no, no.
to
I
see
said what
things black and
Eastern
white.
philosophy. What Eastern philosophy are you getting that from?
Oh no, biblically speaking, the Eastern world sees both and they look at nuance. It's not just either or.
I want to know what Eastern philosophy you are getting that information from. You said that the Western sees it in black and white, the Eastern does not. What Eastern philosophy?
Do you believe that the Western hemisphere and the Western world, when they looks at facts,
It's not hemisphere, it's cultural. Western and
yeah,
Eastern are
but
based in cultures, not location.
okay,
Again,
you
what Eastern philosophy are you talking about?
not a philosophy. It's just their culture, the culture of the way that
What Eastern culture are you talking about then? It's not one thing.
Okay, so we were talking about love first. So you want to circle back to that because I want to.
Are you talking about Shinto? Are you talking about Taoism? Are you talking about some esoteric position in a country? Are you talking about an indigenous position or an indigenous cultural understanding of love? What framework are you using to compare Eastern and Western thought?
The Eastern philosophy or the Eastern
That's not a
culture.
thing. Eastern philosophy is not a thing. Eastern philosophy is a category of things.
Okay. So going back to the original question, the reason why I think that love, because I don't think that.
Why are you not answering this question?
Yeah, because I don't think it's relevant to the conversation.
It's absolutely relevant because you're making a distinction between Eastern and Western as a way to negate what I said.
That was one of the things I was talking about.
As a way to negate what I said.
Originally, but the topic was love originally.
Yes, and I am going against your claims of love. Talking about how these actions are not love, these actions are loving actions, but are not love themselves. That's what I said.
But
you said this was
both
due
can
to
be true.
Yes, you said this is due to Western versus Eastern or Western versus Eastern thinking, in which Eastern thinking says you can have both. I want to know what Eastern thinking says you can have both. Because if you're just pulling that out of the Bible is not Eastern thinking. The Bible is currently Christian thinking. It wasn't even considered Eastern thinking at the time it was written, because Eastern thinking was from the positions from like India over to the Asian countries and the Pacific Islands.
There's people all over the world that contributed to the writings of the scripture.
No.
Yeah.
Christianity is a Western thought. It falls under Western philosophy.
You sure you're not talking about Catholicism?
No, Christianity as a whole. Catholicism is an offshoot of Christianity. Christianity is the entirety.
So from my standpoint, Africa is the originator of, or shaped the Christian worldview.
Africa was the westernmost nation of that day. There wasn't anything further west,
but I'm
as far as this was concerned.
That was
North Africa. North Africa, sir.
Is not Eastern.
South Africa's not Eastern either.
No, North and South don't differentiate between East and West.
Yes.
So
you're
again,
trying to get me to do it either or, but I'm saying both.
What Eastern philosophy are you referring to when you say that love
I gave you the answer, and it's biblical.
Okay, so that's not Eastern versus Western. You're talking
So
about your belief, your
okay.
religious belief
Mhm.
versus secular understanding of emotion.
Yes, and the
It's
secular
not it's
understanding of
not it's not
emotion.
Eastern Western, so don't pull that
Okay.
shit out of your ass and then just
No, no, no,
expect
no,
people to
no,
accept it
no. I'm
because
not
it's
expecting
not
for people to
true.
accept it. That's what I believe.
Nothing you said was Eastern Western.
I
Yeah.
disagree.
Not a single thing you said was about Eastern
I
Western. Not
disagree.
one.
I don't agree with you.
Okay, you can be wrong. That's fine. I don't mind. But
I don't think
again,
you're wrong. I mean, we can do this back and forth. So what
No
you're saying,
love
anthropologist
is
such
the
as myself who
emotion.
studies cultures of the world would ever tell you that that
I
is.
don't believe that you're credible at all. So no.
And I don't think you're credible at all. That's
Okay,
perfectly
so going
fine.
back to
But
love.
what
So
you are
going back to
discussing is
love.
an emotion, which we
Okay.
can quantify this emotion through the chemical responses in the brain. We know what causes this emotion. So we know that love is going to be a response to a chemical system in the brain, not an action being taken by an individual. We can say that people who are experiencing love may take actions that are found to be the norm within the culture that they have, but even those aren't going to be like consistent throughout those who experience love around the world. It's going to be relative to the cultures that they're in. So when you say love is more than just an emotion, you're just factually incorrect. When you
That's
start
not
saying
true.
love is more than other emotions, you're factually incorrect.
So how do you know that someone loves you?
They tell me.
No, okay. I could
They
tell you
lay
I love you, but then I
themselves.
could
They
be
lay
abusive.
themselves down for me when it matters, and when I make a mistake or a misstep, they cover me.
Okay.
They,
Okay.
And
they
Then
do it with
again,
their
that is
actions.
not the action is not love. The action is providing evidence of the love.
The
How do you know
oxytocin
somebody
is the
loves you?
emotion.
Is by being told. Whether or not that is true is going to be shown through evidence. Like anything else, those actions can be used as evidence. Your trust in a person can be used as evidence on why you believe them. But
okay.
it does not show that love is more than just the emotion being held. Just like hate is
Okay.
not more than the emotion being held.
Okay.
Boredom is not more than.
Okay. So here's the reason why I disagree with that. Again, I'm a theist, so of course I'm going to see things through a different lens. So in scripture, we have this definition of love. It is patient. It is kind. It is have self-control. It does not boast. It does not envy. Those are all actions. I cannot love you intentionally, or I cannot love you just based off of emotion only. I
It
can't
doesn't
decide.
say love is a. It doesn't say love is a person who does these actions. It says love is these act or love takes these actions. Love is these actions. That's just poetic.
Yes, yes,
It's
but
not accurate.
yes, I get it. But
Analogy and poetry is not real.
so if I tell you I love you and my actions differ from that, I'm abusive, sadistic, and
That's
things of that
the
nature.
evidence. That's the evidence
So they go
that goes
together.
against that go. No, that's the evidence that goes against the claim. But the
Okay.
actions themselves are not the emotion. Just like I could say I hate you, but yet I'm buying you gifts. I'm hanging out with you. I'm playing games with you. Or we're going seeing the game together. I buy you dinner. I do all these kind things together with you, and we laugh and we have a great time. But I say I hate you. Does that mean my actions are hate?
So
That
therefore
hate
they
is
have to go
actions?
Yeah,
together.
you can validate what
No.
he's
Does
saying.
that mean that hate is actions?
You know somebody hates you based on their actions, not based
Because
on what
their
they
actions
say.
are evident. Their actions are evident of the emotion, just like you can tell if somebody loves you through their actions, because their actions are evident of the emotion, but are not the emotion themselves. If you're going to hold to love being the emotion itself, you would have to hold to hate being the actions, not just the emotions. You would
That's
have
why I
to
believe it's
hold.
both. It's the emotion and the action.
Then you can't say that love is anything different than any other emotion, because you can say the same thing about every emotion.
It's both
People,
and. It's
there are
not either
people
or.
that
Language is
don't
Then
manipulation.
have
love
the
is no
emotion.
different. Then love is not something that shows anything more than humans having emotions and taking actions based in them. It doesn't
Okay.
show a God. If you're going to
Well,
say that love shows a God, but you're not going to say the same thing about hate, you're not going to say the same thing about violence, You're not going to say the same thing about boredom and sadness and any other emotion. If you're not going to say the same thing about all those other emotions, then you're not saying anything. And
Can
you
I
don't want
perform
to
all of
say
those?
those about those emotions because that would tie God to them. And
So,
that's
but
not
you can.
something that the theist wants to do because they
So,
want to say
so,
that God is love.
so I can do all of those actions and not love you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Showing that the action is not love.
but there's a motivation for those actions when it's pure. And
Because you hold the emotion. The emotion is what is pure about it.
can a person create that emotion just automatically?
Yes,
No,
we
we
can. No, no,
have
no, no,
those
no. Listen, we can
emotions.
create that emotion simply because here's why. There are people. There are people that are that have forms of severe autism that cannot create bonds. Right? We know that. We know that dopamine, visitocin, serotonin, and what's the third one that someone mentioned?
Oxytocin.
Oxytocin are the four chemicals that are used to create the feeling of love and love bonding. Here's the thing: they treat people with forms of autism that have issues with creating love bonds with their parents with those particular chemicals. And guess what? And guess what? They have found that it does help them to create the feeling of love and create bonding with their parents that they hadn't been able to do so before because of their severe autism. So yes, we can help to create those particular emotions utilizing those four chemicals or drugs that help to promote those four chemicals like SSRIs for serotonin.
Yeah. Love is an emotion that is a mental state that is caused by the chemical reactions in the brain.
Powerful, and irregulation, when irregulated, causes all kinds of strife in the world.
Oof, boys. It's been I'm not going anywhere, but like, damn, it's been a morning. Holy cow.
But yeah, thank you so much. I gotta go back in. I did stay past my time, but I really appreciate you just indulging me because most of the time when you go on forums like this, it's a lot of projecting, and sometimes Christians do that too. We try to preach to people. I didn't really want to do that. I just wanted to see where you're coming from. I probably will return and talk to you guys and things of that nature. So again, thank you for being a friendly agnostic atheist. I appreciate everybody on the panel, and it's only because I got to do a honeydew list, but I definitely will subscribe. And so again,
Well,
thank
you
you.
better get that honey-to list because she might stop feeling that oxytocin.
And also,
Good
also
day,
really quick,
doctor.
and also really quick before you go, I do go live on Mondays. I do 1v1s. Tuesdays I do 1v1s, and then Thursday I do 1v1s, and then like Fridays I do panels. So if you want like a more personal conversation with me specifically, like Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday would be like the day to do it.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'll probably shoot on a Monday. So again, thanks guys. Thank you so much. Great talk.
Yeah. Come back
Very
anytime.
clear argument, Matthew. Very clear.
But thank you guys for being here. There's 24 people in here. If you can, tap your screens like the live. Imagine if every 24 person in here tapped their screens. We could probably get to like 10K likes. So we can try to get like more people in here and get some new Christians and keep the conversations going. If you're interested, I'm streaming right now Hogwarts Legacy on Twitch and YouTube. Check those out too. But I might go back to Fortnite in a little bit. And man, it's really hard to get viewers on Twitch. Like, it's really hard. But there are really big creators on there, so. My yippers. What are we talking about now? Hey, Dingo. Tell us about your incorrect views.
Okay, what does that mean? That shade.
I want to know which views you hold that are incorrect.
Incorrect.
Exactly what it sounds like.
I hold many problematic views, man. Not
Okay,
that
wait.
way.
Well, Rui, do you still hold to vegan authoritarianism, where like veganism should be like forced?
I do.
Wait, you still do?
Of course I do.
Okay, let's talk about that one.
You want to talk about get this dingo get up your set.
No, I'm kidding. Only if you want to. We don't have to talk about it.
I don't care. I don't know if the conversation's on a tangent. If you're okay with that, we can talk.
Oh yeah, sure.
I have
Okay.
a very extreme account of it's not veganism because it was what's his name? Fuck, I think Jester. Fuck, what's his name? He's a friend of ours. I can't think of his name. That's so bad of me. But he was in a chat with Jack Dorr talking about it, and they misconstrued my position to be vegan fashionism.
Fascism. Oh, so what's
Can you
so?
say that on live?
I think you can. I have to
We'll
check
find
TikTok
out.
policy.
I guess
But,
we'll see if you keep saying it.
But so your position is vegan authoritarianism, which I think, like, yeah, the government
It's
should.
not vegan authoritarianism. Like that was authoritarianism. That's not what I was going. That's not what I was going. That's not what I said. It was really misconstrued because what I said was taken from at least the group we're part of, Coco, and obviously Matthew. I'm not familiar with Monadics. Sorry, nice to meet you.
Monadic sphere. You can just call me Monad.
Monadic, got you. I'm not familiar with you, but I'm assuming based on the panel you're on, we're part of all the same sphere. What I said,
yeah.
a lot of people took issue with, and they misconstrued it in a lot of ways, which is not what I ever meant.
I'm a vegetarian, but not a vegan. And I'm a vegetarian that lives on a family farm that does have cows that do get rendered on it, but that's because there are other family members that live on the property that aren't vegan or on vegetarian like me. So
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
I hold a pragmatic position on veganism.
I think veganism is like the most moral position to have. But honestly, I just really like Texas barbecue, so that's all I can say.
I think that it should be legally enforced that people shouldn't eat.
Like,
you know what's
think
really
that
good? No.
You think that the
Host, I have to
government-
tell you, this is really, really
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. Like, just like I think the government should prevent people from killing you and eating you. Like, what?
I mean, Jesus.
If you like Texas barbecue, if you like pulled pork sandwiches, okay, go get a jackfruit. They actually have canned jackfruit at Trader Joe's, and shred it onto a cookie sheet. Cook it until the ends kind of burn, right? And so you get the burn ends kind of thing, right? And then it's stringy like pulled pork. And then you put it in barbecue and you make yourself a pulled pork sandwich. I guarantee you will not know the difference.
It's not the same, and I do know the
I'm
difference.
sorry, but I love it. I think it's really good.
I think veganism is a very base position. I don't really know how to argue against it. I just have preferences. I like eating meat.
The best way to argue against it, like economically, I don't really know like any of the relevant arguments for it, but I know
We
it's
made
just,
veganism globally, specifically the country I live in, Australia's economy would collapse. It's purely like instantiated on this fucking beef industry. I don't
like
care.
even in America, like,
It wouldn't be.
My ideal society isn't maintaining the country that's predicated off of beef exports. That's not my ideal society. If you're saying, well, Australia collapses, I don't give a fuck. Do it.
yeah, I definitely agree. Like
Hold on,
it
Cosmic.
wouldn't be like the argument is more like the way like if we were to do so, society would have an extremely difficult time rebuilding itself, and even a low chance of rebuilding itself.
Ben, the vegan farmer. Wait, get him up here. Let's change the topic to veganism.
Ben's the goat. I love Ben.
Hold on. I think that, like, if that was true of, like, enslaving humans, like, during, like, the, slave trade, we probably still would have intuitions in favor of stopping the slave trade.
No, I would say no. Like the argument is more like I'm pretty sure the way that most people use it is it's not that they're coming from a moral standpoint. They would agree that we ought to be vegan, but changing society to be vegan would have an extreme effect on the economy. So much so that it would take a long time to either one rebuild the economy or a very long process to slowly introduce this new standard in society.
Well, I mean, like,
And then this way to be pragmatic.
Well, I mean, like, someone could argue the same thing for, like, slavery, right? Like, it would massively, like, if we abolish slavery, it would massively affect the economy and take, like, a long time for our economy to recover from slavery.
If the South fucking unify, yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, there was a whole war, so
Mm-hmm.
I would say that there was quite a bit of stuff going on. Like, even, like, take Egypt, for example, like ancient Egypt. Like, if the Exodus were to be true, the economy would just completely crumble and collapse, and the society would, like, just disappear, right? Like, what would they do? That's the main
A
strain
lot of
of it.
vegans by virtue are like, I'm gonna make like a real conflation here, but like an anti-capitalist. Irrespective of that, it's like if you're just saying, well, the economy is going to take a crumble, blah blah blah, and then the vegan just comes to you and saying, well, if the moral output is what most individuals are inclined to, but they have this pragmatic like hindrance where they block, there's a blockade, there's an obstruction between getting to the goal that they actually, I'm going to say, normatively are inclined towards. I would, as a vegan, say, I don't care. We let that happen. We move forwards. Earth goes on, or the humanity goes on from where it is once we reach that goal. Whatever happens in between, intermittently, inshallah, ashhadu Allah maha.
So, Dingo, what do you feel about cultured meat?
Cultured meat?
What the fuck is that?
What's that?
Is that like lab-born meat?
Yeah, it's lab grown through animal.
Lab grown meat is ultimately a good thing for that end.
Yeah, from what I understood, for the cells to be able to grow, you had to have the cells that come. What are the cells that we use to grow, like certain organs and stuff? What are those cells that can become anything?
Stem cells.
Stem cells. You had to have the stem cells, and the stem cells have to come from the birth or birthing process. They get them from the umbilical cord and from the afterbirth, because that's where stem cells are most prominent.
I think the issue there is like, it's a grey area for vegans on the sole basis. I know vegans, Mob for one, that said he would eat lab-grown meat. One of my main hindrances, or my main reasons I would oppose it is, it will probably kill my stomach after this many years vegan.
Sure, yeah, sure.
But I think a big issue is the whole idea of veganism. We don't want to reinforce this idea that animals are a product we can use. That's a big idea that we really need to reinforce. These have, I guess, based on sentience, they have predicated rights that we cannot deprive of them, at least morally. That's a big issue. I think when you say, well, these animals we're still using these animals in their birth, or as Ben put, perhaps not in birth, just taking their stem cells directly from their flesh or something of the sort, you're still kind of reinforcing this idea, this moral evaluation, that these are a product for us to use. That's a problem for vegans.
Yeah, but the deal with stem cells is once we get a group of stem cells, we don't need to keep withdrawing stem cells. We can actually then grow additional stem cells from the original version of stem cells. So if we did that enough, then at some point we wouldn't even have to be utilizing the cows themselves to continue to get stem cells from.
With a vegan diet, without even using this, you could deprive that exact goal you're heading for would never use the cows without just ever using the cows.
Yeah, eventually you could.
That's it. Eventually, I'm saying you could stop using the cows now and never use the cows and just adopt the vegan diet.
But
And if there's a problem getting people to go toward meat, then the problem then becomes well, why don't we use something that would eventually stop us from using cows anyway? And then they wouldn't. If we had a problem with so many people in society changing, they wouldn't have to. They would just be able to continue to utilize lab grown meat.
This week, I don't know if Ben, you want to chime in there, but I think I missed half what you just said because it didn't clock. It's like a point in my brain, but you said a lot. I think I missed it. To rather repeat it, or if Ben or somebody else wants to chime in.
I
We
don't
can
know.
go 50-50.
Carrots kind of suck, so.
So can you repeat that monad? Sorry, just for me.
Oh,
'Cause
just
I feel like
that
I
if-
tuned out
if
on
we
half
have
of that.
a
I'm so sorry.
If we have a problem with getting people throughout in the entire society of the world going to vegan, and not to say that we shouldn't try to get as many people to do that as possible, but if we have a problem doing that, then there's still going to be a process where they're going to have to unalive a cow, right, or unalive a pig, right? But if we go through that same process using stem cell and lab grown meat, then by the time we get to that point where they can sustain themselves as meat eaters, we'll actually be able to reach that point of stopping to
I
use.
got you. It can act as like a really prominent, like intermediate set of affairs that we can accommodate the goal that all vegans and possibly meat eaters with this normative
And then also get to a point where we stop creating problems with having to use cows in such a product manner, because we won't have to after a while. After we've established enough stem cells, we will be able to grow them independently.
We can go two routes here, but I think like the most easy route here, what we started off with cocoa, is that like based on what you just said, if people are going to struggle switching to veganism, we could just switch to my political view here, which is just how eco-fascism. Like it's just like the most reasonable route here.
Yeah,
Just
but the problem is that people rebel against any form of fascism, even if it's eco-fascism. People will always rebel against any form of fascism.
Well, under like an authoritarian regime, what happens to individuals that rebel against the government? In jail.
Oh,
They're
okay.
gone.
So you don't want to unalive the animals, but you'll unalive the people who.
Unalive. Whoa, no one said that. Whoa, chill. No one said that. I'm not unaliving anyone.
Well, that's what happens in fascism if they.
No,
rebel.
that is a misnomer. No, that's not true.
Yeah, Dingo is very well versed in the world of fascism.
True.
Knows it's
True
not true.
statement. Fascism has nothing to do with it. This is like purely like historical just inserts. We say, well, historically, the fascist identities that have done X, Y, Z. Look at Michael E. Zimmerman, his account of eco-fascism, his account of deep ecology. These things have nothing to do with arming individuals. Just enforcing a certain agenda.
Well, if we don't have a need to enforce it because we have an
We do have a
alternative,
need.
then we have an alternative.
No, we don't have an alternative. The alternative is still exploit animals. They use these animals as utility.
Up to a certain point, and then we'll be able
We're
to
using
stop.
living beings as utility.
Hold on, we'll be able to stop.
Deontologically, that's utilitarian. Deontologically, wrong.
We'll be
Don't
able
harm-
to stop. We'll be able to stop exploiting them. And
By
we'll actually
exploiting them.
probably be able to stop exploiting them even sooner than we would had we tried to force people to try to do it, because first of all, not every country is going to fall to eco-fascism at the same time. You're going to have outlying countries or organizations or groups that will not fall to that, and still will. And if they're not utilizing a lab-grown meat, then they're going to still be
This seems-
exploiting cows.
But this seems problematic because you say like there's like no idealistic sense in which this eco-fascist view holds in all countries, but at the same time you're saying there's going to be some idealistic sense in which this cultured meat industry involves or is invoked in each country. Like irrespective, like obviously not every country is going to adopt this. There's a lot of countries that are like meat centric, things like that. I'm just saying, if we're talking about like, so that point didn't really address anything because both things fall short of like a global scale. We're just saying if we had one society in which we do X, Y, Z, the idea would be from the start, stop viewing these animals, stop viewing these sentient things as products, as utility for our own gain. You've got that, you're good. But you're saying, well, over time, it'd be better because perhaps less people are going to be put in jail, XYZ, if we just bring about cultured meat. But that whole intermittent fact is against veganism. We do not want to view these animals as utility. It's quite simple.
Again, though, will they be abused as utility once we've gotten enough stem cells that we can continue to grow additional stem cells from the process?
Well, I think the goal is to stop abusing them, yes. I think the goal is to stop abusing them, or stop using them.
Again, though, if you're able to grow them in the lab, then you're not having to withdraw them from any cow at certain points.
I just agree with you. I think your goal is to stop using them, yes. I said that, yes.
Okay, then.
Yeah, but
eventually with lab-grown meat, you would stop.
Yes, I grant that. I've granted that like 15 minutes ago.
Wait, really quick. Let me try to get some new voices in. Ben, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, it kind of seems like what we're starting to touch into is kind of the difference between like a welfare approach, which would not be like a vegan approach, versus like a abolitionist stance, right? And Coco brought up the like analogy to like slavery, right? In the sense of like, you're still using them, there's might be financial implications, to changes towards, a plant-based food system, but that doesn't, overshadow the moral and ethical, dilemma here and the situation. So I think, what it sounds like, Monad, what you're kind of going down is this argument of like, well, rather than starting from an abolitionist point of saying like any sort of exploitation that's unnecessary is wrong, it seems like you're trying to go down the route of like, well, maybe we can take these steps, we can make the system a little bit better in approach. And like, while lab-grown meat, and, other ethical steps in the right direction are part of the transition towards like a more ethical society or like a vegan, world, that's not necessarily like the vegan position. So the vegan position, in the same sense of a abolitionist against slavery position, would be to say this is wrong, right? There is no financial justification for this. There is no, other justification for using other individuals when you don't need to. And so I think that's kind of the vegan.
But you're missing the point that eventually we won't need to use the cows, because once you take enough stem cells, you have at that point
guys
to grow the stem cells yourself. So there's no need to keep withdrawing them from a cow.
So if we just say this society that we have a goal towards, then slavery is the account that like the most easily, like if we just hold a certain race of individuals and say, well, you're lesser than me, you're going to do it for me because it's the more pragmatic case, blah, 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 while we gain our economy upwards. And over time, they're going to build a society we need, and they're no longer slaves. Would that be better than just saying, well, no slaves, guys, let's welcome this ourselves?
Do you hold the same vitriol towards like capitalism for its unethical use of like individuals who have consciousness?
Well, I would love an answer to my question in a second, but yeah, Matthew, I'm opposed to capitalism.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not really like opposing your position at all. I'm just curious if you hold the same position towards capitalism.
I'm opposed to capitalism.
That's more curiosity than argument.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would also agree that veganism is opposed to unnecessary exploitation, and I think a core part of capitalism is kind of some unnecessary exploitation.
Exploitation of the workforce in order to build profit. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like veganism also kind of indicates being anti-SW.
Damn, that's a crazy stretch. Like, wait, what's SW?
Sex work.
Oh.
At least that's actually under capitalism.
Wait.
There's no issue with it in terms of like
capitalism. Yeah.
There's no issue with SW and the way the individual works towards it, but I feel like it's some kind of industry where people can be brought into it per influence and then exploited once they're in the industry. Like it's a whole area that I just do not want to get into.
Yeah, most sex work, honestly, I wouldn't even say it fits into the category of consensual, because most of it is trafficking to begin with.
I would agree.
I think that's the reason I brought up capitalism instead, is because like capitalism necessitates the exploitation of a workforce.
Yeah, capitalism is disgusting. There's some people out there that look at this whole
Well,
idea of
you know, I
capitalism.
mean, my husband
So,
does
like,
take me out for an expensive lobster dinner beforehand. Does that count as SW? No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't take me out for lobster dinner because I don't eat lobster. But I'm just using that as an example. He takes out me to an expensive dinner beforehand. Does that count as SW? If he's spending,
you're a prostitute,
if he's spending
monad.
money on me, if he's spending money on me beforehand, does that count?
Yeah, you're a prostitute monad. That's what that is.
Yeah, that's not SW.
Well,
I don't know if I've ever asked you this, Dingo. What is your thoughts on the position of like honey and like ethical use of honey?
I don't use honey.
Okay. Do you think it's possible to have like ethically sourced honey?
No.
Okay. Even if the
Honey isn't used for us.
even if the overproduction of honey is a result of the protection of a hive of bees that is free to come and go, but is better off being in a cared for hive.
I would pivot there. Oh, I would pivot there. That's a good point. And I would say yes, I'd be okay eating honey in that sense. The same way if like a cow needs to be milked because the calf isn't drinking it, I would drink milk in that case. So I would say the same way I would eat that honey. Yes. I actually hate the taste of honey. I've eaten it before I was vegan, so I wouldn't. But the point is like it would be morally permissible.
Sure. Yeah. That's kind of what I was getting at. Is just like the concept here is it's specifically the ethical treatment.
If it's
because
excess,
yeah,
Dingo.
a lot of the times, like the whole thing with bees is that they are storing the sucrose and the fructose as a way of storing food for later. If you provide them with like table sugar, super good for them. They love it, but you get honey back from it. That is not going to be used for the hive.
I used to be part of like beekeeping, so I'm familiar with the like kind of smaller scale beekeeping production. And while what you're saying is true, like, you know, European honeybees do produce more than they need. That is their food storage, you know, and beekeepers will make the argument that, hey, if we take, you know, the honey before the winter and we give them enough sugar, a lot of times, you know, they can kind of store their honey and, you know, have food for their brood for the next spring before the flowers come in. But even that is disruption to their hives. So, you know, a lot of times beekeepers are trying to make that argument that there's more that they can take, you know, so there's an abundance that they want to take from. That would still be exploitation, right? Just trying to make that argument that just because some other group, regardless of species, has some extra resources they don't need, coming in to try to justify taking that for your own purposes would be exploitation. There's also some gray areas. Like I've actually know some vegans
I don't know if it's exploitation so much.
I think by definition it would be, right? Like taking from another for your own benefit.
okay, so if eventually we get AI to figure out how to talk to bees and we ask them if it's okay, then is that exploitation?
Well, that would be consent, right? So if they said yes, you can have it.
That would be consent.
Consent. Yeah, so that wouldn't be exploitation.
Leave us this much. You can have this much. We don't need it.
Okay.
But I was going to give y'all another example that's kind of a gray area too, is like some vegans have tried to justify honey that's taken from invasive bees. So technically in the U.S., European honeybees are invasive, but people tend to catch them and re-industrialize them into beekeeping for themselves. So they're not really like a wild invasive issue, but in other areas of the world, and starting in, I believe, the west of the U.S., there is some other bees that are like considered killer bees that also create honey. So there's like groups that will go in and take these quote unquote killer bees and unalive them and take all their honey and sell the honey. Now, some vegans would say, oh, since they're invasive, it's helping the ecosystem. But truly, like, that's still breaking, you know, the autonomy of this hive of bees. You're taking from them, you know. So to me, as somebody who's like, you know, a rights-based vegan, I would say that even that for like invasive species, you should take the kind of like an escalation of force route where you take the most humane, least violent, least, you know, just so that route before you start unaliving individuals. So, but yeah, kind of long rant on honey there.
No, you're totally good.
I think
That's always an interesting conversation for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just think I'd pivot my position though. Like if that is the case when it comes to bees, I would have the case when it comes to cows, because my understanding of the way cows produce milk is something like it's the way humans lactate. I guess it's like if they have offspring to produce their milk for, and at some point if the milk is not milked, say, then it's harmful to the cow. And I guess you could say,
Yes.
well, put it in a bucket, give it to the offspring eventually. But
If you can.
I would say that I would not actually have an issue there on somebody taking that and using it. I think I would in that situation. I think I would be okay with it. But when it comes to the way you put bees, Ben, I think I would pivot my position. I would recant my position on that. I would say perhaps it is exploitation to use honey even if it isn't necessary.
Yeah, and it's about intention, right? Like if a beekeeper sincerely believes that these bees are going to like struggle because they have excess honey and they have some, understanding of why that might be the implication, they could justify that. But if it's like, I have a cow and I let them get impregnated and my intention was to separate, the cow from the mother so that I could have the milk, the intention wasn't to help the mother, the intention was to take the cow, to take the cow's milk. So in that sense, again, it's like the intentionality. Ethical issue with it, like necessarily like using that from a situation of necessity, or in the situation of helping some individual through that. I don't see an ethical issue with it, but I think it's important to not perpetuate the idea of animal products and animals as resources.
I agree 100%. 100%.
A lot of the questions that I end up talking to vegans about tend to stem from like the origins of animal husbandry, not current day use of animals as products and the way that a lot of like animals are farmed, but like original uses of animal husbandry where it was mutually beneficial to both to provide for each other in ways that allowed both to survive and in ways that wouldn't be capable. That's one of the reasons I discuss beekeeping. Beekeeping is commonly used in like ways that go back towards original animal husbandry, where you keep bees close to your crops, and it wasn't that you were forcing them to work for you. They were just pollinating plants like they would anyway, and it was a safe environment for them. They had better chance to survive and to thrive. There was just positives on both sides. As long as it was kept in a balance, it was a mutually beneficial symbiotic relationship. And we can say the same thing with the original use of dogs, the original use of cows, the original use of lambs and pigs and all sorts of animals was mutually beneficial. It just doesn't seem to be that way today.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, at one point it was like mutually necessitated, right? Like a lot of these species would not exist today if it wasn't for, humans
Animal
using
domestication.
them. Right, and domestication. And vegans, a lot of flack we get, it comes from somebody saying, well, you would be for the extinction of, domesticated dogs and cats and cows. And it's like, well, these species are essentially mutant, like they have been selectively bred to live in agony, many of these species. The dairy animals produce way more dairy than, their
Have you seen the
reproductive system
chickens
can
that
often
legs
handle.
break
Yeah, I mean,
because of
we
how much
rescued a
weight
chicken
they're
last
bred to
year.
maintain?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Cornish,
That's absolutely
Cornish
ridiculous.
saw. One fell off of a slaughter truck, and the family brought them to our sanctuary. We rehabilitated them. He had really horrible sores on his stomach from the factory farm, ammonia burning him, and literally burning his feathers off. And he didn't live but maybe 3 months with us because they grow so fast that their liver and the rest of their body physically cannot even like handle it. So we've done that to chickens both for meat, but also for eggs. The wild chickens maybe laid 10 to 12 eggs a year. Domesticated chickens for laying now lay between 300 and 350 eggs a year,
Ben, have
which
you
is one
considered
every
the
day.
fact though that like they taste good? Have you considered that, or are we
No,
just on
I
a
actually
different
never
page here?
considered that. What about my pleasure? I didn't consider that. Yeah.
Well,
Well,
the
we
good thing
selectively
is,
breed plants for the same purpose. We want them to have higher yield. We want them to taste
fucking let
sweeter.
let
We
me know
want
when a
them.
plant's legs are collapsing under its own
Oh,
weight.
I know. Well,
I mean,
technically, we can talk about plants that are incapable of surviving on their own without some sort of like assistance through farming methods because of selective harvest or selective breeding. Those do exist, which I think is absolutely stupid as well. But they're not sentient beings. I'm of no confusion here. I'm just saying we do that with most things.
we are also destroying like our soils and the health of most plants through monocultures, which is a huge issue. And most of those monocultures are used to grow is to actually feed animals, which is really crazy.
Yeah,
What's the
I
percent?
think
Can someone give me the percent on that? Someone give me, because the percent is unreal.
the land use, I know, as far as land use in agriculture is over 80% now.
Yeah, I thought it was
Which
around
would be
80. If I was, I was thinking it was around 80.
So if everyone went vegan,
But
where
a
do we
lot of
go from
it's
there?
not.
Maybe 80 years into the future from everyone going vegan. I granted you need 80 years for these animals to unalive. We're not going to unalive them ourselves. They're going to live their natural life. But
I mean,
given
I
80
think
years, we're gaining
the
80% of land, no?
the really wild thing to me too, like I was a hunter growing up, so
Really?
it took a lot for me to overcome that like cognitive dissonance of like seeing some animals as resources and like not empathizing with them. But for me, like I was kind of on a plant-based diet while I was still hunting, certain animals. And for me, the data that really pushed me to a more scientific kind of place closer to veganism was understanding the mammalian biomass of the planet. If you look at the stats on that, it's actually really, really sad. Over 90% of our mammalian biomass now in the world is farmed animals. And that leaves the rest
Until I
of
go
it
and
is the
track.
majority humans, and then wild animals is like 4%. So
We kill like
really,
wait, what is the math there? Like
That's
a
true.
year isn't like 100 billion. We're like over, I don't know, 10 or 11 times the population of humans were unaliving of sentient
yep,
beings a year to maintain
really,
the
yeah.
greed.
Oh well, our population is so like overabundant. It's not even funny. We're such a like a bloated species. It's ridiculous.
Well, I would say there's some
We've
races that are
literally
more
made
dense than others.
artificial way. Yeah, but we've literally made artificial means in order to produce enough food in order to sustain a population, and that is as bloated as it is.
All I'm hearing is
Whether
Ted
that
K had a
be
point. That's what I'm hearing.
yes, I would.
Yes, go
I
Matthew!
wouldn't really
Yes,
argue
go
that.
Matthew!
I really wouldn't argue that. But we use quite literally we use synthetic means of fertilization, synthetic fertilization for plant life, as well as factory farming of animals to sustain a populace that is far greater than would have been able to be sustained in a natural way.
Yeah, 100%
Yeah, but
plausible.
money.
Go vegan, Matthew.
At least
I hold to a pragmatic position on a lot of these, and I don't claim to be perfectly moral, but I try not to be like extremely unethical about it either.
So this pragmatic account that you don't. Oh, sorry, go on.
I've raised animals in the past, and that would be the animals I've raised in the past would be like frowned upon by vegans. Like I've raised chickens, I've raised cattle, I've raised bison, but I've never raised them for food. Right? And they were never a product for me. Like I said, I always push back towards like the animal husbandry position.
I have an argument. I have a really good argument. I know you guys are gonna love to hear this one, especially you vegans. Okay.
Sure.
I have grown. I mean, not grown. I have raised animals to be slaughtered, to be eaten, and I do it because I like it, and you have no moral justification for it. And if you don't have a justification for it, rather than just your own preference or how you would see a future world to be like, that's just your preference, and you have no argument against it.
But there was no argument given there, by the way. I'm not smart.
I was about to say that.
That was just no argument.
Yeah.
No, prove me wrong. Okay, fine.
Prove me wrong to an argument. I'm not smart.
Oh, all right, fine.
But
It wasn't an
I'm also a moral anti-realist.
Okay, well, I'm
too,
not smart. Don't start the conversation with I have an argument you vegans are gonna love, and then not give an argument.
Bruh, I'm a little drunk. I'm a little drunk right now.
I'm fucking wasted. Do you want to see? This is a fucking like.
Oh wow!
Dude, I don't know if Dingo is ever sober when he's on TikTok.
Dingo is never sober when he's on TikTok. You fucking deal with these degenerates sober.
Can I have any argument? Can I have any argument? Can I have any argument for anybody that wants to give a moral justification?
Yeah, exploiting sentient beings. Yeah. Okay, so exploiting sentient beings is an action against their deontic right to life.
I don't believe in rights, so that's
you don't. Then you're just like a fucking idiot.
Can I go into the environment?
No, I don't believe in inherent rights.
Can I go into the environment?
No, he didn't say inherent. He said he doesn't believe in rights at all.
I'm not smart
at all. I believe
I'm not
rights
smart.
are just,
I consider them more like privileges.
Yo.
Yeah, he said inherent.
Wait, hold on.
You said
say something.
Wait. I'm not smart. I have a really important question. So you're talking about morality. Do you think taking care of ourselves and the environment around us is morally positive or good?
It doesn't matter to me, dude. I don't care.
So, but you're talking about morality. So we're talking about good and bad.
Yeah, but I'm asking for you for why you have. What's your justification for why it is moral for me?
Okay, it's moral for you because if you
for you, dummy.
For me, you just said me, so I wouldn't call me dummy using the lingo you're using.
Give your morality to me.
It was admittedly a confusing statement. I'm not
wrong,
smart.
and give me something.
Okay. Exactly. Either way, right? So the environment, which is the thing that sustains me, I would not be here if the oxygen levels, the nitrogen levels, and everything else weren't sustained at a certain ratio. If the plants and flora weren't here to be able to nourish me, nourish my food, or whatever, if I'm eating animal products or not, right? So if we are looking at data, right, we are on a very downward trend, not only for our soil health through animal agriculture, but also through overall desertification, deforestation. We are seeing huge numbers of carbon emissions increasing due to tilling. It's astronomical what we are doing in terms of...
Wonderful argument. Okay. So what if I plant okay, but hold on, little Diego boy. What if I plant 1,000 trees? What if I plant 1,000 trees and I raise 500 chickens and only unalive 2 of them to eat? Okay.
Yeah.
But
does anybody hear a consequence?
Annually,
is that what you're trying to do?
Annually, with that maybe like.
So if we take the utilitarian account, you're fucking. If
Would
you're
that counter the scale
utilitarian,
for you?
no, if you're kind of like the utilitarian view, you're just invoking just
No,
like a normative entailment.
I'm asking you.
I know you're. What do you think?
Fucking idiot, dude! I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Tosh.
This is so wild.
Okay.
The amount of insulting.
Am I lost
if
here?
I plant
The name checks out.
This is what happens when too many drunk people get together.
I'm not smart.
You still won't answer the question.
If you're planting 1,000 trees, what kind of trees are you planting?
Pine. And maybe cherry.
Wait,
well, yeah, I live in California. We need them for lumber.
Oh no! I thought you were just.
How about native species?
I don't care about them.
You're planting native species for the area you're currently in.
Surely,
okay, pine. Then pine.
But surely we can index.
That would be pine.
He
That
gave.
would be the native. That would be the native species.
He gave a ridiculous
should
point. He's like, from the vegan, from the fucking vegan standard. If we're just saying you plant X, Y, Z
Well, you said it was a detriment. You said it was a detriment
Smart,
to
can
our.
I finish talking?
That's just a utilitarian position.
So if we accept, that's what I said. If we
Exactly,
accept
that's
your
all it
utilitarian, if we accept your consequentialist view, and we're like, yes, Daddy, smart. You've got this fucking on lock normatively. I'm
glad
going to
you
look
said
at
that.
the most consequential manner
And
in
I'm
which
glad that's
harms
clipped,
individuals.
too.
I plant 1,000 trees. Yeah, clip that. I clip 1,000. So I plant
It's already
1,000
done.
trees. I plant. On top of that, I farm 500 chickens, and I eat 2 of them. And we say, well, from a utilitarianist perspective, is it like a normative account that we should harm these 2 chickens? Evidently not, given you can sustain your own agriculture. You can sustain your own health. When you
How would we be
unalive
harming
these 2
a
chickens
chicken?
to eat, did you harm them?
No.
So when I told you, Smart, Smart, if I give you hypothetical and I say, I'm Smart, I'm not going to harm your family. I promise you I will not harm your family. But I actually go ahead and just put a bullet through both of your family's brains. Did I keep my
No,
promise?
that's a categorical error. That's a categorical error.
Where's the categorical? Yeah, highlight it.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry, but I preferably like to believe
your preference doesn't matter here. What's
that,
the category error?
Well,
your preference doesn't matter.
You're
What's your
using
category
your
error?
preference.
No one uses. I did not use preference. I did not use
Yes,
preference.
you did.
I identified a consequentialist manner upon agreed upon fucking foundation.
Idiot.
I literally used agreed upon foundation, predicated specific consequence of it, and I said your 2 chickens harmed were in violation of said such, given the fact that, like as the modern day standard, we can accommodate a state of affairs, but we don't have those 2 chickens dead.
I still deny it's harm.
Granted,
you said that.
Granted, so I gave
taking
you the hypothetical.
eating those chickens is not harm.
Smart, I gave you the hypothetical. If I tell you I will not harm your family, but I go ahead and put a bolt through each of your parents' brains, whatever siblings you may have, whatever children you may have, and I said, did I harm them? Wait, Smart, did I harm them?
Wait,
It's a
categorical error. It's a category. Okay, categorical error is that you're talking about human beings rather than chickens. I know you.
Name the trait. Name the trait.
Okay,
No,
that
no,
was
no,
a category error.
Hey, wait, I'm not smart. Yeah, name the trait.
Hang
on, hold on. Name the
Both
trait.
are animals. Both are sentient animals.
Yeah. I'm not smart. Name the trait that's going to be the morally distinguishing factor for your
Google let him Google something.
Bro is about to get fucking demolished, bro. I swear.
I'm not a vegan, and I think that argument was stupid.
Go on, Smart. Google sentient. It's okay.
I was gonna say
he's gonna be like they're not like sentient beings because they don't possess like certain faculties that like humans have. But then I'm just gonna tell him that cognitively impaired people don't either, and then he's gonna be like, well, that's not the same thing.
He's gone. He's gone. He clicked me calling him daddy and dipped.
Damn, bro.
This is. Well,
Yeah,
I have
wait,
one.
Coco, make me model right now. I want access to this because if this can't ever post me calling him daddy and says I cooked Dingo, I'm going to make sure this family. No, not gonna say that. I'm gonna make sure he's upset.
Well, technically, Matthew's a mod.
Coco, make me
Technically,
mod.
yeah.
Coco, make me fucking mod right now. I want to make sure I have access to this clip.
I mean,
He
like,
just wants to be able to download the video afterwards.
100%.
Okay.
Coco, I promise I won't do anything but kick the non-white people. No, I'm kidding.
Damn, bro.
That was a joke. That's a joke.
Violation of their deontologic right.
That was unreal. Fuck me. No, but that was unreal. I would leave too if I were you, mate. I would.
Dingo,
leave
what
too.
are you sipping on? What's the sip on tonight?
I'm about 10 drinks deep of 37% vodka.
Hell yeah, bro. You ever had a Moscow
If
Mule?
Wawa was
I've
here,
had
that's
many
what I'm
Moscow
saying,
mules in my
Clinton.
time, Matthew.
I
Moscow
don't think I
Mule.
could
Wait,
count
I'm
the
not sure we
number
can
of
say that
Moscow
on.
mules I've
I'm not sure we
had.
can say
Dude,
that on
they're
live, but I might be wrong.
they
Moscow mule's
gotta
fine.
they gotta be in a copper cup though. It has to be in the copper cup, otherwise it tastes like trash.
Y'all should
I-
definitely not be saying that on TikTok. It really, and we love the TikTok.
You're allowed
No,
to like
you can-
discuss how to make them
you can-
and
Yeah.
drink them.
Yeah, but name dropping them, especially in a non-21 plus live, is just going to make it so his live doesn't get pushed out anymore. So it's just a detriment to Coco.
So
Well,
Soviet
not alcohol.
donkeys go hard,
Other
Matthew.
materials, yes, not alcohol.
Soviet donkeys. I've had many.
Yeah, Soviet donkeys. Yep.
That's that.
That actually reminds me of a joke. Yeah, a couple of like military guys were arguing back and forth during the Second World War and going back and forth between like what to call the hole that they were digging. One guy says it's a foxhole, and one guy says like I don't remember. And they're talking back between like mules and donkeys and mules and donkeys and mules and donkeys, and then the chaplain comes up and they're like, "Chaplain, is it a mule or is it a donkey?" And the chaplain just looks over and says, "Well, according to the Bible, we just refer to them as an ass."
Yeah. I have one question that is a hilarious freaking joke. One question about veganism, right? So right now, with invasive species being such an issue, obviously we can mitigate that through putting other predators back into these environments. But do you all think that hunting, as of right now, for invasive species is a bad thing, even if you're not eating it?
Ben is your guy. Ben is absolutely your guy to talk to here.
It's kind of like my topic of expertise, I would say. I don't know. I've spent a lot of time debating with hunters. I mean, I'm a former hunter. But yeah, no, I would say it's still unnecessary. I think if you were to say it's okay to hunt invasive species, we would have to also accept that if some other alien species came here and noticed what we were doing to the planet and decided to farm us and, sustainably manage our population, we'd have to just be like, yep, nope, you're right. And I don't think, that just because you're a species that, doesn't use resources in a way that some other species, dictate is appropriate, that, that other species should have, dominion or power over you to decide your entire species' fate. I think there, especially now, in 2025, we have so many different alternatives that are non-lethal, that, don't violate the autonomy of animals. Or, if you have to go to the next extreme, the escalation of force, you could do sterilization, which obviously would break an animal's consent because the animal can't consent to that. And also it would break their bodily autonomy. But if you've deemed that, there's some utilitarian reason that they're going to destroy our crops, or, it's self-defense of some ecosystem, you could make some argument for that. But I think still from a rights-based approach, you would have to, use those types of interventions that do break autonomy and the rights that, the negative rights that animal rights activists are advocating for. I think you'd have to go through that entire list of all nonviolent options before you got to that point, to still be, under vegan ethics.
So we can mutilate, but unaliving is just off the table, is what you're saying.
So when you say
I think some
mutilate,
invasive
like,
species are too crazy and far too gone to be able to do that in an effective way.
Yeah, and the other thing with invasive species is like people don't understand that the reason these species are typically invasive is because of human disturbance. A lot of these species are reactions not only to the human systems we've created, like globalized trade, but also to many of the agriculture and land management systems that we currently perpetuate, such as our forestry.
Or they've been introduced into a different ecosystem by humans.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's our fault. I don't disagree.
No, yeah, there's no argument there. And like I was about to say that your analogy about like some alien life coming and monitoring our population control, I can't really say I'm against that idea.
Yeah,
Depends
I
how
am.
bad
I
they
mean, I
are.
don't. I would say please don't. Like,
It solve a lot of problems.
But that's
yeah,
what.
no, you're right.
But
You're
that's the
right. Yeah.
that's the thing. Like it's so hard. Morality is such an interesting conversation, especially like surrounding something like things we have to live off of, like food. Um, it's really difficult. As you
Tosh,
you're saying,
you're not a vegan.
I've been vegan. I'm not a vegan at the moment.
The way you were arguing on the side of the vegans, I already respected
I
that.
know,
That's why I
right?
thought you were
I know.
vegan.
I want to go back to being vegan soon, and I'm going to go back to being vegan at some
Hell
point
yeah.
soon. It's just right now, like between money and also like I'm getting gifted a lot of food just to be able to eat some weeks, so like I can't really say no. I'm not going to eat this food, like, but also I do want to try. Like I'm about to travel a lot, and I do want to be able to try a few things before I nix that. But I do not.
I would
plan-
be careful with that if it misaligns with your morals. If you're then like, I want this conquest of this, like I want to experience things before I commit myself. It's very different thing to saying like, well, I have this idea of we should never harm beings. I want to harm them before I avoid harming them. Yeah, it's a bit of an issue now.
I'm not gonna go and necessarily buy the food. Like if somebody offers me food though, like as already prepared, I may not turn that down.
Would you turn down like other animals that might seem weird to you, like human flesh, or like is there a line? Like I mean, if novelty is in someone's
You
life,
can make it more reasonable and say you go to China and then you say, well, during like the Yulin Dog Festival, someone offers you dog meat. Would you be like, well, it's novel? It's like it's a novelty. Would you say yes or would you say no?
Such a weird freaking. See, this is what I'm saying. Morality.
It's not.
My
It's that
morals,
culture.
no,
It's
I
not
wouldn't
weird.
do that. Like my morals.
I don't
That's
consider
what
that
I'm
novelty
saying.
personally.
I was gonna say that's survival. Like that's such a hard. Like
You don't want my opinions
It's
on
not
what.
even survival. It's cultural.
yeah,
But
You
that's
don't want my
but that's
opinions
where it
on
came
what we,
from.
we would do to the individuals. You don't want my opinion. You just don't want my opinion on that. So we're going to avoid that political like landscape and just say, well, if you're saying you want novelty when it comes to like, well, if somebody offers you something that's been paid for X, Y, Z, you still have this moral kind of gradation where you say yes and when you say no, right? So what is it that when you say yes to, you say yes, I'll consume it. What is it of that you're saying? Is it just that it's been paid for and you don't care what the animal's been harmed for?
No, it's that it's already been unalived.
So
and
if somebody
processed.
like if you're a vegan, when you were a vegan, if someone gave you a plate of steak, it's like, well, I paid for it. Would you eat it?
No, at that point, no.
Well, but it's being paid for. It's the same kind of
No.
grounding, no?
But again, so like right now, for my survival, right, I'm eating meat. And again, that's
For your
mainly
survival.
if I was not.
Do you have like a? So I mean to
He's
ask like the most.
he's being gifted food.
Do you have
by
a
being,
I mean this like the most like respectful way. I promise you don't need to share anything you don't want to. But is there like a condition invoked here where like you need to eat meat to survive?
No,
it sounds like the condition is
So you're not.
poverty.
Then you're not eating meat.
Condition of poverty.
The vegan diet is like objectively cheaper.
yeah, and I mean,
No, he's
there
saying
are
he's being
homeless-
gifted food. He's not able to afford any food, and some of the food he's being gifted is non-vegan.
Oh, but Tosh, if that is the case, if the only food you're eating is actually gifted to you and it happens to be meat, you open a GoFundMe, I will happily donate. I promise.
Well, that could still be vegan too. Like if you will literally perish because you do not consume food that was given to you, like you are operating on necessity, right? Like if you were in a survival situation in the wild, you could still be a vegan but have to do something that would be non-vegan, right? And it would be justified because you're in a necessary situation. But I think the problem is that there people can be homeless, right? And you can, be in a situation of like need, but still have, these ethical stances. But it sounded kind of like you were saying, Tosh, when you had the opportunity to travel, that there might be dishes maybe that came from exploitation that you would feel obligated to like try. So I would say like, maybe it's not necessary that we get into like why you're, consuming meat now, but it's like, why in the future would it be okay if we, want to be against unnecessary exploitation? Why would it be okay to like accept that for some sort of like novelty or enjoyment, or desire, like in the future when it's not necessarily a necessity?
That's I guess my moral dilemma. And that's me. That's something that I either need to address now and just not do it. And when I travel, just eat nothing but vegan food.
Do it.
It's also
It's actually not too hard when you're traveling. There's a lot of countries that are very easy to be vegan in.
Oh,
A lot
absolutely.
of them are in Asia.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's
All over
I mean,
Asia.
yes, I completely agree. And I'm excited, especially like India and even parts of China too. But
It's
like
such a beautiful
Thailand and stuff.
lifestyle. The thing is, I don't want to really. One thing I want to clarify is because I've been to India, I've been all across India with my parents. It is not the country you expect when you come with a vegan diet. My mom's vegetarian. My dad eats omnivore. He eats whatever he wants. I'm a vegan. When we went, it wasn't what we expected. The population is so large that you have a lot of Muslims population. And when we went, it was during Eid, and I was watching goats being unalived on the streets.
yeah.
I was ready to sucker punch someone, for lack of a better term. I was willing to hurt someone. And my dad was like, "You get in trouble here, your French passport isn't saving you." Like,
No.
stop. So I'm just saying, like, these countries are not what you expect. Just because they have a high population of it, that's because they have a massive population. It's not because most people you're going to meet there are going to be vegan.
Oh no,
A
that's
minimal amount of
I
people are
agree.
going to be vegan.
100%.
A lot of them are horrible individuals that are okay with unaliving goats in the streets.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I'm just saying, in terms of access to really, really incredible food that is vegan, I love Indian food that is vegan. That was the only thing.
100%. Well, I'm just saying, like, when we talk about, like, price-wise, I think... Wait, so do you mind if I ask where you live, Tosh, like, country-wise? You already give me location or just country?
I'm in the United States, and I will also say I'm in one of the most expensive states, being Connecticut.
Oh, okay, no, I have your exact location now. Good luck. No, I'm kidding.
Thank you.
No, there's like, I've got it pulled up right now. There is like individuals that take mountains. It is a vegan website, but they take in AGPD, etc. And it comes down to per state. It specifically says like the blue states, California, New York, etc. These are the states I'm going off of. It's not going to be specifically predicated of your state. It could be opposite of your state. But it says rice per 1,000 calories, 50 cents to $1. Lentils and beans, 70 cents to $1.30. Potatoes, 20 cents to 60 cents. Then chicken, $2.50 to $4. Beef, $5, $10. Cheese, $4, $7. Eggs, $2, $3.50. And we're saying that animal products cost about, based on that math, I can't do it in my head, 2 times to 10 times more than per calorie than animal-based products that can give the exact same nutrients.
It
doesn't taste as good, maybe. Like, maybe you're saying if I'm eating beans and rice, it doesn't taste as good as a fucking KFC chicken wrap, sure. But does
Rice
that
and
taste...
lentils with potatoes is like a phenomenal meal as far as nutrition is concerned.
I was about to say,
Yeah, it'd be a fucking POW meal also. Like, it'd be like a meal where I'm like, this tastes like shit. Fuck this.
I love lentils. Dal is one of my, like, a dal curry or a
Dal
soup is
You're
one of
a
my
Dal
favorite things in the
Makhani
world.
kind of guy. You're a Dal Makhani kind of guy. I see it. But I'm saying, like, if that is the case, if we're looking at these things here, the vegan diet is cheaper, more in line with your morals. Just try it. It could be the case when you make it at home. You're not going to make things that are as tasty as your KFC fried chicken bucket. But the morals are so much more important than, well, it tastes better when I just consume these chickens, right? Like, it's so much easier to just say, well, I'm eating food that's maybe less tasteful to me, cheaper, more morally correct, but I'm just not looking at it in the same sense of, well, it gave me this whole dopamine high. It can give you a very different dopamine high. The dopamine high is just, you're a good person.
And again, like I advocate for veganism, especially like understanding not only what meat is not the best thing for your body, and especially excessive amounts of meat is really bad for your body. And it's really easy to overeat a lot of meat. Although At the exact same time, like, I guess like it's my. I'm not gonna lie. This is my selfish want, and it's cultural, right? Because as I said, cooking, like when I like to cook, it is either vegan food or at least plant based. It's really just due to like what I've been given. That I've been eating more meat than anything, but not like I'm not predominantly eating meat. I like there's days that I do go completely vegan or plant based. And
So, by the way,
I study nutrition, so.
also, by the way, if you joined the panel recently, you can just hop in the conversation.
Cool. Hey, Tosh, what's up? I'm Landon.
Landon.
So you were saying that the main reason is because you've been getting food from other people, and that's the main reason why you haven't gone towards a fully plant-based diet?
Yeah, for the past like 2 years, like either like when I was working, it was really hard to like because I was working at a soup kitchen, and the meals that I would get for the 10-hour shifts a lot of times had meat, unfortunately. And then recently, like I come across a really hard situation in terms of money. I put like all of my money, I gambled my money into myself in terms of starting a business and marketing it. And I got hurt and family struggles. I ended up like a decent amount in debt right now. And I was like negative $40 the last like 3 or 4 days in my bank account, like 17 grand. So I'm just I'm in a pickle.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, and I'm sorry you're going through that. That really sucks. I own a business as well, and I'm in the debt thing right now too. So I know where you're coming from. Do you think that the people that are gifting you food, do you think you can say, "Hey, I'm actually eating a plant-based diet now. Could you give me plant-based options instead of animal-based products?"
Yeah, I can definitely start doing that. And I'm like, from this conversation, I plan to. So nice. I appreciate the reinforcement.
Yeah, and I also want to say veganism isn't a diet. Of course, a plant-based diet goes along with veganism, but veganism is the ethical stance against the unnecessary exploitation of sentient beings where it is practicable and possible. So if it's possible for you to not participate in that, that's where veganism comes in. That's what would make you a vegan.
Yeah.
Man, Thomas. If you want to keep going, you totally can. But I just want to.
You've been
saying things that I've been waiting for someone to throw out there.
Before it planted.
Oh yeah.
Come back up.
Yeah.
It's because my mic isn't working sometimes. I don't know if, so the thing is,
sorry, I was gonna say something to Landon. But I wanted to express to him, just he mentioned the whole veganism is the aspect of not really trying to overpower sentient beings or having a lifestyle with it. I know I'm butchering what you're saying. I'm not saying word for word. But a lot of what I deal with a lot, and especially in alchemy, is understanding what everyone's been waiting to get to, is understanding that plants are sentient. And I feel that majority
of alchemy.
Yes.
Plants aren't sentient.
Why are we listening to this guy? He's talking about alchemy and plants being sentient.
So exactly, this is what I've been waiting for.
I might listen to my friend.
What do you even mean by alchemy?
Viva wanted to say something.
Well, isn't alchemy bringing chemicals to gold?
No,
the whole.
It's more than just that. That's one part of alchemy. It's transmutation.
Alchemy does exist, but
wait, hold on, guys. Viva was waiting.
I not see. Oh, it's here too. Okay, awesome. But yeah, if I may, I just say that because again, I deal with plants, plant science, and I start with alchemy because a lot of people want to.
Viva's been waiting.
Planted was waiting first. Both of them are my friends.
I can go ahead and wait. I'll wait.
Hey, can you hear me or no? Hey, so I was gonna say I was vegan for like maybe a majority of my life because I had gastrointestinal issues. And I couldn't stand the smell of meat. And the thing is that I want to say like my senior year, like I couldn't eat anything. Yeah, that's kind of when I started to get really sick. And the thing is that,
What does it mean when you're vegan there? What does it mean when you're vegan? 'Cause you couldn't-
I guess the thing is that I stopped eating meat for a long time.
But not eating meat
and
isn't vegan. So I'll be
Yeah.
careful with what you're
and
saying there.
here's the thing is that I was like 80 pounds by that time, and I was like really anemic, and the doctor told me that I had to eat meat.
Yeah.
And so I ended up eating meat, and then I want to say I was vegan again after I got better, and then they told me that I guess for health reasons, I had to start eating meat again. And so even though I don't really like the taste of meat, and I don't really like like animal cruelty either. That's why, like, if I could, I would be vegan, but I can't, because then they told me I think a few years ago that like if I like drop any more weight or anything, that I can get like leukemia. And so, just for health reasons.
Oh, no!
Wait a second.
No one has ever
can't.
told you that. No one has ever told you your diet is going to cause leukemia.
I mean,
Don't say that.
I mean,
No, it's just some people, like, the thing is that women also like lose blood with menstruation, and so
So Viva, I think so. Whenever your doctor tells you that you need to consume flesh, it's because they know that animal products have that certain thing in it. They're not thinking of it as a vegan or having the vegan ideology. They're like, oh, I know there's a lot of iron in meat, so you can eat that, and that'll do it for you. But just so you know, doctors, they don't have a lot of nutritional like studies. They have, what is it, like maybe 30 hours of nutrition studies?
It's really bad.
So what you would want to do is talk to a nutritionist or a dietitian, and there's plant-based ones. So a nutritionist and dietitian, they have thousands of hours.
Somebody needs to push back on the fact that their doctor, like this doctor, really needs to be tested in their competency, saying that their diet of veganism, etc., could lead to leukemia. Leukemia has nothing to do with your diet. Nothing.
No, I'm just
Yes,
saying
it
that
does.
I
Wait,
was
Leukemia has nothing to do with diet.
Your diet influences cancerous cells.
Leukemia
So
is it's a
yes.
cancer of bone marrow, or blood and bone marrow. That is what leukemia is. It has nothing to do with the diet individual. It has to do with genetic predisposition. It has to do with radiation exposure.
It is
Sorry, Dingo, I was really vibing with you, but I thought you were doing things. If you don't understand that diet transforms to incorporate how your bone marrow grows, look up and study Ayurvedic. That's what I'm saying. You guys are saying that you guys
Ayurvedics?
Yes, Ayurvedics, the study of Indian medicine, one of the oldest traditions. Come on.
Okay, I study Indian medicine to look up on the fact that leukemia.
It's
deals
to
with
understand.
blood
You just
and
said that
bone
it has
marrow.
nothing
It is
to do with
caused.
bone marrow. When you
I know. I said verbatim. It is I said leukemia is to do with blood and bone marrow.
I'm just
These things
saying
are
that it has to
caused
do
by
with
genetic
your diet.
predisposition, radiation exposure, chemical toxins like toxins exposure, fucking smoking, infections of the blood like MRA. MRA is that it? MRA? So something of that sort. It has nothing to do with what the fuck you're
mRNA.
eating. Leukemia has nothing to do with what you're eating.
That's
the
not
thing is
true.
that cancer runs in my
Can
family.
somebody give me the study otherwise?
No,
Can somebody
it-
show me? I will happily get down on my knees and say I was wrong. I'm sorry. Show me exactly
This
what
is
leukemia
probably
comes
the
from.
same kind of person that thinks Tylenol causes autism.
Oh my god! No! Oh my
What
god!
now?
Okay, so one thing that I really want to preface is that that's not what I was saying. I was saying that the impact of your diet, it makes you more predisposed to getting leukemia, just like any
How?
other cancer.
Where?
If you're okay.
Where?
And again, so if you have a bad
Give me the
diet
studies.
in
There's
general,
nothing to do with diet that causes leukemia. I promise you that much. There's nothing there with leukemia that causes
you can
diet.
type it in
And
for
I will bite my tongue. If you give me a study that says otherwise, I read it and I'll say, okay, you were right. I will bite my tongue and say, I'm sorry. But as far as I'm understanding, there is nothing to do with leukemia that is remotely has an antecedent of your diet. Just give me the claim. Give me the source of the claim, please, because this is fucking ridiculous.
I got you.
This is fucking pseudoscience at this point.
I know a doctor.
Oh,
He's like an orthodox doctor. He can come and maybe I can ask him later.
An orthodox doctor? What does that mean? Like a doctor that's like not going to deviate from like traditional standards? What does that mean? Like a
No,
doc-
he.
Okay, here,
he's
no,
a
look, here, I got you. PubMed.
Can you-
No. Here, PubMed.
I'll type exactly what you want. Just
Here.
can you tell me what to type precisely,
Got you.
please?
Diet and risk of adult leukemia.
Diet and risk of adult leukemia.
A multi-centered case control study in China.
A multi-centered case of what? Sorry.
Multi-center case control study in China.
Oh, control study in China. Okay, study in China. Got it. Got the study. Can you give me maybe? I'll go on mute. I'll give myself 15 minutes to read through the abstract, the purpose, the methods, the results.
It's really short. You might not have to even do but take as much.
I want to read it, and I want to read it in depth. I'm like I science myself. I want to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Respect. I appreciate that.
I'm gonna send the one to you, Tosh.
Just give me a couple seconds, and I'll read it, and I'll come back to you.
But we can just flip this around and see that nutrition and bone marrow adiposity in relation to bone health. Let's go down to introduction or keywords just so you guys can skim it really quick. Nutrition, diet composition, bone marrow, adiposity, sex differences. How does nutrition have to do with bone density? Really, all you have to do is search up literally diet affecting bone marrow. You're gonna find long-term high-fat diet affected bone marrow. High-fat diet causes undesirable bone regeneration. Diet obesity reduces bone marrow. Come on.
Well, I just read, so I want to read. I'm reading through the study I'm reading. It seems to be the opposite way that we wanted to go here. It's the higher vegetable intake lowers leukemia risk in dose response fashion.
Yeah, I mean,
you said that.
That seems to be the way it's going. But I want to clarify when you put it
Bingo.
specifically. Well, the conclusion is that.
I agree with that part. That's not what I'm saying. You said diet and nutrition doesn't have an impact on cancer and leukemia specifically.
No, I didn't say I have an impact on cancer. 100% does an impact on cancer. I said doesn't have an impact on leukemia.
But so here's a study showing that diet has a difference in impact on leukemia risk. And specifically, as you said, the more plant-based routines have a greater efficacy of making sure that these people remain risk or like less risk, or I was going to say risk-free, but that's definitely not true.
It says they have a low risk for cancer, lymphatic, and I cannot pronounce that word. Hematopoietic. But is anybody here?
That's an interesting
a genius in terms.
I be butchering Latin words all the time, even in.
I cannot pronounce that word.
What the heck? Yeah,
but I want to clarify. The conclusion here is just the idea that diets rich in vegetables and an adequate amount of milk, as far as what I'm reading, have a correlation of individuals or participants in the study that lack presence of leukemia.
And it's funny that they do say milk because like you don't need milk, but that is a really interesting portion of it. I understand.
Well, but the thing, we're about to get real in the depths here. Do you know what a null hypothesis is? What was the null hypothesis of that study?
Null hypothesis.
The null hypothesis there is that there is no if given the way it went, then null hypothesis, presumably there is no convincing association so far. That is the null hypothesis. That is the only way you can go there. There is nothing proving otherwise. There's nothing proving that statement.
Association with what?
Association with dietary, state of affairs, and cancers.
No, that's
leukemia specifically.
That's 100%.
No, there was no association there.
Our findings suggest that diet. So the whole thing is to make sure the association between dietary factors and the risk of adult leukemia in Chinese populations. Our findings suggest that diets rich in vegetables and adequate amounts of milk reduce the risk of adult leukemia, whereas diets preferring fat, deep fried, and smoked foods increase the risk of Chinese populations. So it definitely has correlation.
Decrease the risk of Chinese populations.
Yeah, I mean, we can branch out. You just said you wanted one study.
I feel like I was taking aim with the statement there. But
I mean, we can probably go and go deeper into this and find a bunch of other meta-analyses that dive deeper into overall.
The diet affects your health, but what was being said here was that the diet affects leukemia, which has no actual prominent scientific backing.
I mean, you asked for one study. We can bring up other studies.
We can provide me the studies. What you've given me solely here is that like the cohort and like the what's the word the group what's the word? There's a word for it in science. I'm a fucking physicist. Why don't I know this word? Sorry, I'm drunk. There's a word for it. The cohort and like the groups used produce a mixed association of or correlation between vegetable-based diets, individuals that are more consuming of said vegetable-based diets, and leukemia. That's all it's given me.
Okay, here's another one.
What's the effect size? Wait, Tosh, what was the effect size that you gave me? I think I may have missed it.
It's only a few hundred. If you're talking about like the amount of people, it's only a few hundred.
442.
Yeah, it's
what you gave me.
Yeah, it's not that much. Okay, so now look up the overlooked association between nutrition and development of acute myeloid leukemia. A scoping review.
You think I can remember this? Overload association.
I can say it slower. I'm just.
Yeah, please do. So overload association is what I heard.
The overlooked association.
Overlooked.
Yeah, my bad.
Yes. No, you're good. That is no. Overlooked association of.
Between nutrition and the development of acute myeloid, which is myeloid leukemia, a scoping review.
Scoping review. What? You know what a scoping review is?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
I'd be careful with using scoping reviews because scoping reviews aren't traditionally empirically based, at least firsthand. So I'd be careful with that. But we can move with that. We can move with it.
I could probably find a bunch of these different studies. We're just gonna run through them because if we're gonna actually make our own little meta analyses within this little group and like try to draw a conclusion, it's good to be able to read more than one. And then go from there.
Like, can you give me like, I'm gonna read it. I promise you, I'm gonna give it like a brief. I'm not gonna read it fervently, but I'll give you like a brief overview. Just give me a couple minutes.
Take your time. I just love this conversation because I've like studied this for a pretty long time at this point. So this makes me happy. Been very wrong on a lot of this crap for a while.
What's the hypothesis? I'm reading it. What's the hypothesis of this test? There's no hypothesis. As I said, it's a scoping review, right? There's no hypothesis. This isn't even a scientific endeavor. There's no hypothesis to this. What's the hypothesis? Like, I promise you, I've only read the abstract. What is the hypothesis?
I don't necessarily think that.
It's a scoping review, right?
I mean, yeah, it's just trying to find the if there is there would be a implied hypothesis, I guess, in terms of like, well, is there certain effects of nutrition in the?
Well, it says in the abstract it took 25 articles which it reviewed, 6 of which met their criteria for data extraction, 4 of which did not reveal statistically significant correlations between nutrition and development of AML. So it just goes like the more prominent case in this study is that diet had nothing to do with leukemia, or at least specifically what you gave me, acute myeloid leukemia. That's the abstract of your study that you just gave me.
I think it's just because my family, they have like cancer, like in the family, you know, like my mom's sister passed, and my cousins and my sister had like a scare of like cancer too, you know. So like, I mean, that's how I was just told is just to eat meat and.
It's
and
strange that your doctor would tell you to eat meat to avoid cancer. That's odd to me.
Unless you're not cooking the meat, perhaps. Unless you're just risking salmonella or something. If you're cooking the meat, yeah, it'd be a horrible fucking idea to
And then my mom, she used to give me like the chicken, like the heart, or like the. ¿Qué me dices? Que tenía mucho iron, dijiste que si uno se comiera.
No, what's okay? Hold on. Really interesting, right? That they said that. I'm sorry to interrupt, but in this study, it says the findings indicated increased AML risk associated with a heightened caloric intake, consumption of white potatoes and red meat, pork and beef, and diminished consumption of vegetables, seafood, nuts, and seeds.
I know what you're reading. Read right above that, though. Read right above it. 4 studies out of the 6 they accepted, 4 studies does not reveal statistically significant correlations between nutrition and the development of AML. It is 2 studies that provided the exact thing you gave. So they took 25, accepted 6, and only 2 of those 6 were remotely conducive of anything. So
Wait, really quick.
1/3, 33% of the studies they accepted out of 25, by the way, were.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that makes, yeah, of course, right?
Wait, hold on, guys. Planted, did you want to say something?
No, I was just trying to see if we were ever going to bring it back to before, or how far we were going to keep going down for steady.
You guys want to keep going, or what do you guys want to do?
I don't. I love this, but I don't want to like take up the live. So.
No, you're good. Let's just try to find a conclusion to this, and then probably get back to the other thing.
Unless there's a different study we want to talk about, the conclusion seems to be they took 25 studies to discuss this. They accepted 6, and then 2 of said 6. So 1/3, so 33% of the studies, 33.33% of the studies said, well, there's an associated risk. So 33.33% of the studies they accepted out of 25, by the way, so 6 out of 25, which is like probably what? Some extent of 21%, something of the sort, like 19%, sorry, of the studies they accepted, gave this correlation. So we're saying we take 100% of studies, 9 or 21, 19, I can't do the math in my head, I'm fucking failing here, I'm drunk. Something of those sorts, something in that range, were accepted. And then we say, well, of that, only 1/3 of them actually were reasonable to conclude what we wanted them to conclude. That just seems obsolete.
I wouldn't necessarily consider that as true, especially
What's
seeing
it fucking verbatim in the study you gave me, man?
So right below that, the scarcity of comprehensive studies exploring the connection between nutrition and AML highlights the urgent need for additional research. Just because like they went from a pool of studies that didn't necessarily find much, or that just weren't good studies, but pulled the 2 that actually had reason to be valid in any case or form, right? Shows that, again, so it's not a 100% like leukemia is directly impacted like heavily by food, but there's definitely studies saying that it is already happening, or like that is the case, and the more and more that this gets studied, I'm just going to say it.
Well, the studies with absolute statistical improbability. We're looking at 33% of the fucking 19% like of the cohort or the subjects they adopted are saying this. That's fine. If that study then goes ahead and says, well, we should research further, yeah, say less. We should research further. As far as I'm concerned, statistically, there's nothing to do with what you eat. It's going to influence whether your leukemia occurs. You could say there's a correlation based on the 30 or the 1/3 of the studies that you accept based on the 25 or the 100% of studies you actually accommodate. Yeah, sure, but it's evidently not moving to most people. That is statistically just obsolete. If you take 100% of studies and you say, well, I'm going to take fucking 20% of them, like a charitable account, and then say, well, only 1/3 of those are actually going to be used in the study, and then from there, or only 1/3 of those actually prove what I wanted, or what the hypothesis may have been. Yeah, it just, like, man, that is statistically, like,
I'm just bringing up, so like I've just found another one, which is a pool from 35,000.
You can give me another one if you want to keep. If you want to keep, we can go on this tangent over and over.
Guys, this is just why. So what happens if Tosh is right, and what happens if Dingo is right?
We know that cancers at least have no verifiable account of diet influencing leukemia based on like blood-based cancers.
It kind of sounds like neither of you know, which I'm totally fine. But maybe y'all can dig into it separately and then come back on it later.
I was literally about to say this. That's what I was gonna say. It's just like we can do this.
Wow. I really appreciate Tosh. Tosh is a very intelligent dude. I've loved the conversation, but I really don't want to take this foreground and say, well, I will accept neither of us know, or something of the sort. Because I want to come down to the fact that, as far as I'm concerned, I could give multiple studies that I have read on this manner, that there is no link, no correlative link between leukemia and the diet, like what your intake, your dietary intake. And the studies they're giving me are just saying, well, there is some minimal account of correlation on what we accept to actually be conditional of this study. And I'm saying from them, that's just obsolete. That's my point. So I'm not going to say we're on like equal stature here in just finding a middle ground. I don't want to clarify that. I would take the conversation further another date, but I don't think we're on middle ground here.
That's fine.
Okay. Time to move on. Okay, Planted,
Fucking
take it
Coco,
away.
go vegan, you dense cabbage. You were vegan and then you quit it. I love you, Coco, by the way. That was so mean. I'm so sorry. That was so
Oh
mean.
no,
I
you're
love you,
totally
Coco.
cool.
But go vegan.
People have said worse.
Well, I'll fight them. I probably won't. I suck at fighting, but I love you. And I would do it for you, Coco. I'd fight them for you. But go vegan, Coco. You were a vegan, you can do it again. It's so easy. So easy.
I'll give it a try again, I guess, later. But Planted, what you got for us?
Shit, really, what it was about.
Alright, you can take the conversation anywhere you want to take it.
Planted, you were about to say that plants are sentient.
Oh yeah, we were talking about the sentient aspect. I'm not against anyone in the vegan culture and veganism. I question more people I see who don't look at veganism as a lifestyle and a culture. For someone, if you're just like, oh, I have a vegan diet and that's it, I will say that I kind of weary those people because I feel like it's not understood. And I appreciate a lot of people on here who do have the lifestyle understanding, like this is a lot more of a thing, but I've just always found it so interesting that a lot of my teachers and what I've done, I worked in farm and agriculture. I've been teaching farm around the U.S., mainly the Southwest, for like over 10 years. I've traveled and done a lot of this large scale and big scale consultation. And most of my teachers are indigenous, from the Benin, Tanaatam, Kipash, Pastayake, Anaiuia, Keladi. There's a lot of my teachers I've gotten to work with, gratefully. And sentient and energy and understanding of all things having life has always been an understanding of just something I've learned throughout the way. And when I first started to hear a lot of like more veganism, for me, I'm only 29, so it's not like super old, but I haven't, it's been more like the last 10, 15 years have I really heard about veganism and more so of it as a lifestyle. But it only really turned me downwards when I hear a lot of people saying that they don't feel, the reason they do it is because they think plants aren't sentient. Like for the aspect of the entire thing to be about sentient and what is and isn't sentient and how to overpower something sentient, that always made really interesting, it kind of confused me because I felt like it was such a natural way to life. Like if you're going to be like, to me, most vegans I know who are in the cultural typically tend to try to live a more natural way of life. So when I see that, it just baffled me to think the one time they stop and they don't have that connection is when it's no longer about plants. That to me was the only thing that I thought we were connected to in a lot. Like in all of my teachers, I've sat in a lot of medicine circles from many different cultures. And like nature was life. Nature was sentient. Nature was alive. So I asked, how do you guys reconcile with that and saying that plants aren't sentient? Because I'd rather just eat the plants and be like, I can live a veganism lifestyle and won't eat animals. But I wouldn't say I do that because plants aren't sentient. I do that knowing that plants to me are the most sentient thing on the planet with the most memory connected to the roots and the soil and Mother Earth and all that.
That's a claim.
Because of that, that's why I kind of do that. But sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's quite the claim.
Yeah, I
to
think
say that they are the most sentient things. Like, I'm just going to just straight up say, no, plants are not the most sentient, things.
This is a pun too, but they're much more grounded than we are.
So I think we have to understand what sentience is, be on the same page on that. Can you tell me what you feel sentience is?
Yeah. So
This argument. So we're not gonna go into the sentient argument. My question is, let's just say plants are sentient, because we can go down. There is no physical study that is showing plants are sentient, but there are many studies where people have been trying to prove that they are sentient. But what I'm saying is that connecting to, you guys are saying that you're living a lifestyle of nature. And what I'm saying,
No, that's not what veganism is.
well, it's not, but it deals with nature more than a lot of other places, okay? Because you want to know what's in your plants that you're eating, right? You want the plants that you're eating to be full of nutrients, so you're not just eating dead leaves. Otherwise, you wouldn't, I don't think you would.
Yeah, I don't, I mean, that's two different things that we're talking about here. So you can be vegan and eat a completely terrible plant-based diet. So veganism is what I said earlier, which is the ethical stance against unnecessary exploitation of sentient beings. So we have to understand what sentience is. So sentience is, having a subjective experience, having preferences, having feelings, being aware of your surroundings, having a consciousness. So that's what sentience is.
If that's your sentience,
That's not my sentience. That is what sentience is. I understand. Hold on. So plants are alive 100%, and they have their own, their own thing. They react to stimuli, all these things, but they are not sentient. So they are alive, but just because they respond to things doesn't mean that they have a consciousness or they have a brain or a mind.
It's or something that's sentient, but as long as it's not sentient and alive.
See, you have to understand what sentience is. That's where we're having a disconnect here. So, yeah. So, and just so you know, veganism is against the unnecessary exploitation. So we do have, vegan people have to survive. We would rather use plants that are not sentient and not create a whole system based off of exploiting literal animals that have a nervous system and a brain just like us.
You guys are exploiting the soil that builds up worms, that brings It's all the same.
No,
so
that's wild for you to say that it's the same. So just so you know, just to let's say that you're right, that we need to focus on plants being alive and respecting them, which I agree for the most part, but not as in not eating them. 40% of plants that are grown for food are fed to animals. So 80% of the agriculture the agricultural land taken up is for animal agriculture. So if you disagreed with us, exploiting plants, then you would then become vegan, because what we're doing right now with plants is feeding 92 billion land animals.
So I think it goes deeper, because again, I deal with natives who've understood that there's balances between everything.
That's off of survival.
No, I don't think. No, I'm not talking survival. In any ecological setting, if you put any new addition out, it's either going to get eaten or it's going to grow until another point where it becomes too much or too less. It balances. That's nature. If you put a bunch of out,
I think you're no offense, I think you're ignorant on what's happening in the animal agriculture industry right now, because that's not what we're doing.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm doing is connecting the entirety. So all I'm saying is that you just said veganism is choose plants as their source of nutrition because they feel that is the one unsentient thing.
Well, it is not sentient. That's a proven fact.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So to someone else, if they're feeling, I understand you're saying if it's not sentient by definition, we will call it by definition. But if we're going to say another culture has been saying this is sentient and this has been sharing knowledge and that we've been connecting with these things and getting information. This is why I fight with Western aspect of farming and agriculture, because it goes deeper. Like as I said, I deal with productivity in large scale farmers, and all of them. I talked to a lot of farmers, big scales, cows, quails, chickens, turkeys, goats, pheasants. I talk to all of them, but I understand my favorite people I do talk to are the ones who at least know there is sentientness in plants, and even the vegans who understand. As I said, I'm not knocking anything you're doing. I want you to do everything the same. Fight for the animals the way you're fighting, but don't leave plants out of being sentient and understand that that is sentience. I'm sorry, because we've been getting this information and knowledge from these elders and indigenous people for so long, and they've told us the connections, and we're able to connect with these plants, and they have a sentientness. That's all I'm saying.
I have a question. The
difference, yes.
Is there beyond plants? This is a really, really this is a stretch. Could y'all see mycelium being sentient?
I mean, I think mycelium, if plants were or if anything was sentient, which they're not, then I'd say mycelium would have the bigger chance.
Aha. So
I'm pretty sure, isn't mycelium simply a part of a mushroom, not the mushroom itself?
Anyone in here a biologist or
link of it?
Mycelium is the fungus itself. The mushroom is the fruiting body of the fungus.
Yes, thank you. So this is where I'm stretching this to, is the whole thing, right? So like the plants are the body, right? And then, or like the nervous system.
Yes. Are you saying the stuff that we eat
is the brain?
Uh-huh.
And so on and so forth, right? So like there is a connection, because this is also how trees talk to each other, right? Like in order for certain trees
don't,
to give,
but talk is a
they
loaded
communicate.
term.
Sorry.
Yeah. Communicate also is again, is just to be clear. There's signals, there's stimuli, and there's reception, and that's not communication in the same way.
I think we need to differentiate between consciousness and sentience here. Without a symmetry breaker, we just aren't talking about the same things here. So, Planted, what would you define both consciousness and sentience?
Sentience, yeah. I know, that's what I came up to ask.
Because to me, everything is conscious, whether it's still what you guys consider alive or not. Anything alive.
Do rocks have consciousness too?
Yes, they do.
So what you're talking
we're not
about,
using the same language or the same idea.
Consciousness that we're talking about then.
Yeah, you're talking about something that has
not just awareness.
what you're talking about is a poetic expression for just everything.
Yeah. So what we're talking about when we say sentience is an ability to perceive, think, to realize, and that requires, whatever else, everything else that comes with that requires some level of a brain. That's what the rest of the world is talking about when they say sentience. What you're talking about, I don't know, you're not using language in the same way that the rest of us are, and that's fine. I'm not saying you're wrong for it. I'm just saying you can't. We're not having the same conversation. So plants do not have sentience or consciousness. They don't have the necessary organs, the brain, which in this case would be a brain. It's not possible.
Wait. So
at least as far as we know,
no, that's not true. That's not true.
That's
not true. Wait a second. That's not true. Right? Things do not have to have a brain. They have to have a system to process these things. It does not have to. It can be brain-like. It does not have to be a brain.
Sure, but at least as far as we know, there isn't any sort of
we haven't. At the very least, we have not found like absolute proof off of it, right? 100%.
But as
I agree with that.
Know, plants don't have this. Trees don't have this. Fungi.
All right, so this
it's
don't have
tough, dude. Okay, so wait. But
I just want to do one thing, because he just said, as far as we know, I'll leave it there and I'll let you guys take over the convo. As far as we
so wait, just real quick, do you understand this difference between a plant and an animal in their ability to understand, perceive, feel pain, and so on?
I do, but at the same time,
and they're not the same, right? Wait, they're not the same, right?
Is an electrical signal the same? This is what I'm saying. Like, we're gonna speak to different.
No, see, what did they call that? Reductio ad absurdum, something like that fallacy, where you break everything down to its root core particles and say there's no distinction. That's a fallacy.
But this is what I said.
If you say that, look, we're all made of carbons. There's no difference. Hold on, we're all made of carbon atoms too. There's no difference between me and a diamond, right?
I'm talking
That's
about
dumb, right?
Understanding.
That's dumb, right?
One
There's a
second.
difference between me and a
Planted,
carbon.
are you
right?
a panpsychist?
Bad word.
No.
Yeah,
I
he
just want to
seems-
finish my. I just want to finish my thought, if I could, please.
Right, but did you hold on before you jump on? Do you understand that just because there might be some electrical stimuli, doesn't mean it leads to the same type of being as between a sentient being like a chicken or a cow or
hear what
whatever
you're
and a plant?
saying, but
Yeah, do you?
there's-
No, no. I understand. You hear what I'm saying. Answer the question. Do you see that there is a difference?
I do see that there's a difference.
Okay, and they don't deserve the same considerations, right? And the implications are different, correct?
I disagree.
So
Okay, so
Why?
a rock and a human can be seen should be treated the same way.
I don't think a rock and a human should be treated the same way, but I'm going to understand that rock and the human have a similar aspect to it. But I'm not talking about the rock and the human. You're bringing this shit onto other stuff. I'm talking about the one thing that you keep trying to distract from. My thing is that you said, as of right now, we don't know plants to be sentient. All I've said is if we get to a space where we learn plants are sentient, that's all I'm asking. If we get to a space where we learn that, does veganism change? That's all I've said. My own
Sure, yeah.
thing.
It's the proposition is based on the idea we should always afford moral considerations to beings that can understand pain and suffering, and we should extend that. But this is the dishonesty of your position. You're saying I'm trying to distract from something, and I'm not. And in fact, what I'm trying to bear down upon is your dishonesty and your unwillingness to concede
Bro, you're
the
manipulative.
fact.
What is dishonesty?
You are lying
I'm
right
being
now
honest in
because
my view.
No, you are not. You are telling us all, and I know you don't believe this. You're not sitting there with a straight face telling me that plants and animals are the same, and they have the same amount of consciousness.
Bro, do you know who I am?
That is fucking nuts. I don't care who you are.
I'm not downing your opinion. I'm not being
But I am
downing your opinion.
I am downing your wrong
I know,
idea
because you're
of the
manipulative.
reality.
I'm not doing that.
I'm not manipulative for pointing out the truth, my guy.
But
You are.
there is no truth about it
You're
for
the
me to
one
say I'm not.
telling me that
I'm
a plant
100%
can feel and think and has a consciousness in the same way that any other animal does. You are the one being dishonest, not me.
I'm not. Again, this is what I said. You just said we're speaking two different languages, and now all of a sudden we're speaking the same language. The only way I can
Yes,
be
because
dishonest
I
is if we're speaking the same language.
when I asked
I'm
you,
not-
do you think that plants and animals have the same amount of consciousness? And you
God.
said yes. And then you said the same thing, that we are the same as a diamond, a carbon-based life form. We have carbon, so do they. Are they the same? You said, well, yeah, in a way they are, or something to that effect. I edified it. You agreed. I laid out the found. I asked you before I said anything. We were speaking differently before, but we're on the same page now, and you're not in reality.
I'm definitely in reality. Again, this is
You
what I
just
said.
told me that a plant and an animal has the same amount of consciousness. You're not in reality, dude.
Is it consciousness or sentience? I do think it has enough
Well,
consciousness.
either of them.
Again,
Either
but
of
my opinion is not false because it's my opinion. Whether you agree with it or not, it's my opinion.
No, that's not how it works. You can have an opinion.
Bro,
and it
that's
could
not
be
how it
false.
works.
You
It's
could think my
crazy.
opinion is that the earth is flat, and you would be wrong.
If your opinion is
could be
flat, that's your
false.
opinion. You know what opinion
could
and a
have
fact
a
is?
preference. You could say I like vanilla. That's not wrong. But you can have an opinion on a factual statement, and it could not align. It could not comport with reality, and that would render your opinion false. Do you understand?
Yes, I hear what you're saying.
I don't think you do. You keep saying that, and then you walk yourself right back. And
No, I
demonstrate
hear
that
what
you
I
don't
understand your.
I
hear
don't.
what
I
you're
don't
saying
think this guy
based on
can
an
follow,
opinion to
man.
be
Somebody
false.
else can jump in.
Hey,
Alright.
Planted.
Yes.
So okay, so you have said that plants and animals are different, right? Okay, they're different. So would you consider are you a vegan?
No, I don't eat meat.
Okay, now can you tell me why you eat meat?
I eat meat because I study TCM and I understand that between animals, plants, and minerals, there are yin and yang based nutrition. And depending on what we do and for our energies, we heal our energies based in different ways. I don't necessarily need to eat meat once a day, once a week, once a month if I really need to. But studying between Indian tradition and Ayurvedic and TCM tradition and traditional Chinese medicine, I'm a big fan, and that's what I go based off of. So to me, things are more based off of the cycle of nature and what's connected around that. So
if what you're eating is not part of nature, would you then consider not participating in it?
wait, what do you mean not part of nature? How's it
Yeah.
not?
So I assume you eat at restaurants and grocery stores and stuff like that.
From time to time, yeah.
Yeah.
I try that.
So do you hunt? Are you a hunter? Is that what's going on?
I grow food, and I definitely consider that as a sense because I still have to get worms. I have to get birds to come. I have to
No,
get.
hold on. No, do you?
I don't hunt animals. Like I'm not out here.
Do you,
no, I don't.
do you raise animals and then slaughter them?
I used to raise quail. I've raised goats. I've raised a lot of animals for pasturize or for pastures. I've raised chickens for.
Yeah. So do you currently do that now, and do you unalive them so you can eat them?
No, right now I'm just doing plants.
Okay. So you do go to grocery stores and restaurants whenever you do consume animal products.
Yes.
Okay. So the system that we're in now, we are forcefully breeding 92 billion land animals, and we are catching 2.2 trillion marine life every single year. So that's around 3 trillion animals per year. And we are not doing this out of a cycle of life. What we're doing it for profit, pleasure, and tradition, which none of those three are a good justification for exploiting beings. So I won't use sentience because we have a disconnect there. Animals that feel pain and have a subjective experience and want to live and do not want to be harmed. So if you consider yourself a compassionate, empathetic person, why would you be okay with unaliving animals unnecessarily when it's been proven that we can thrive on a plant-based diet?
Yes. So I'm not necessarily against unaliving animals depending on the situation and the circumstance. So traditionally,
same.
Yeah. So in a way, it's like I'm not gonna go. Like I'm against the system. Like I'm very much so pro farmers. So before anything, I'm gonna support a farmer than a system in a store. I think the farmers need to really come together and change the systems. I'm very much so for sustainability. And I don't agree with the way that animals are mass produced and raised at all. I'm very much for like small scale farmers. Someone has a cow, it's the cow's time and it's the end of the time. Or let's say the cow gets hurt and something happens and they have to put the cow down. I love people who are connected to those kind of pathways. If you're someone who just has a bunch of chickens and you're just chopping one whenever you're hungry, I don't really resonate with that. But if you're someone who has chickens and you do eggs and it's just a pastime, that's fine if you take care of your chickens and you do stuff. So I know a lot of people who work with animals in those kind of ways. It's like I also study Chinese agriculture and Indian agriculture and how they work with animals. And if an animal becomes ill or sick or something happens to it, then that becomes part of the consumption. So that, if things could be more like that, is what I would more so appreciate and go for more than anything. Do I always get that? No. And do I let my, whether ego or my morality go in the times that I choose to just go to the farmer's market and get a cow from a local producer? I guess you can say yeah, but in my perfect world, we do work with animals. And I also understand that if we were to just let all the animals go, that wouldn't work. So we would have to slaughter or do something about what we have now and get, or
Yeah,
even
there's a couple things you're bringing up here. Let's
go ahead.
Yeah, so when it comes to, raising your own animals and you saying working with them, if you have a condition for your animal, that's not working with them. If you're loving an animal conditionally, that's not working with them. You are like, it's when it's a one-sided thing, that's not. So like if you're raising a cow and you use them for milk, you impregnate them so they can have milk and make sure that they're producing for you. They're not working together. You're just using their body for your benefit. Also, I just wanted to say that. But also, if I were to say that I raise and be honest here, and I'm not talking about other cultures. I'm talking about how you feel personally. If I were to, let's say I had a puppy and I raised that puppy and I gave it the best life ever. And I decided at 2 years old, I'm going to slit that puppy's throat. And eat that puppy, would you be okay with that?
No, no, I'm not really for a lot of animals in the house, anyways. Just based on how humans are and how they treat them.
No. It would be, let's say, in a farm situation. So I would
In any situation, especially like I don't like the way a lot of people treat dogs and cats in general. But no, I wouldn't be okay with someone if they got their own puppy, even if it was a farm situation, and they did that only because I don't ever think to eat puppy meat, and I didn't grow into that culture. To someone who maybe is in that culture, maybe to them that's.
Can I interject?
But go ahead.
Can I say something before you do that, Tosh?
Sure.
So that's where culture isn't a good justification either, because people do these things, and I just wanted to point out that you are okay with people doing that with cows and chickens and goats and sheep and lambs and every other animal when they have the exact same feelings and as a dog. They have the exact same sentience as a dog. They can feel anxiety, love, joy, all the emotions. They can feel them all. So if you're okay with all these other animals being done to, like, why wouldn't you be okay with that happening to a dog? Because they feel the exact same way.
Again, like I said, it's not that I'm okay. Like, I wouldn't go and kill a 2-year-old thing. Like, I am not one to just go and be like, let's go murder something to eat it. Like, that's not my... I don't condone those kind of things. Because again, I look at it like a plant. You don't have to agree with that, but I do. And a plant and a human. Like, I understand that the plant eats the same minerals and whatever. We don't have to get into that. But if someone, like, culture-wise, no, I don't think anyone should be just taking any type of animal and just consuming it off rip. I think that in an open setting, I do understand that, like, if we don't herd animals in the wild, we get stuck with situations of, like, pasteurized and dry grass in places that we either have to control burn or we have to do something. So we do have a systems of working with animals. Like you said, we're not trying to breed it for milk. But we do have to work with animals in a nature setting. We can't just ignore them. If we don't have a zoo, that tiger needs to roam somewhere, and something needs to happen. So
there is regenerative farming that doesn't involve. There is veganic regenerative farming.
I'm familiar with a lot of regenerative farmers, and I've talked to a lot of regenerative farmers. There's actually pros and cons when it comes to regenerative farming because of the amount of cattle it takes to be able to do large-scale pastures. So it's like, unless you have large amounts of animals, or you have to be able to herd large amounts of animals, or be able to, it still takes a lot of work in being able to control the animals in certain ways or create systems for the animals. I'm very familiar with regenerative farming. That's a lot of what I work with.
Well, I mean, I'm saying there's veganic regenerative farming.
Talking about animal husbandry, man. It's just talking about agriculture. You're going elsewhere.
Yeah, so I'm saying that we don't need to be using animals, period. And I think that our culture and our traditions have taught us to not consider that at all.
Can I say what I...
Yeah, I'm sorry, Tosh, go ahead.
Thank you. So you said about the exploitation of animals. I'm also I don't know about y'all, I'm extremely against the exploitation of plants. And like our environment in general, like if we're destroying,
how can you exploit plants?
I can misuse them. I can destroy the soil. I can destroy the ecosystem surrounding it. I can destroy the butterflies' habitat. I can destroy the caterpillars' habitat. I can destroy little mouse and mice and voles and moles.
Yeah, those
habitat.
Are animals.
Yeah, but
that's what
I'm saying. I'm exploiting the plants by destroying those ecosystems, which is destroying these animals on top of it.
Exploitation.
Define exploitation.
Yeah, involves another agent being used against their will. It necessitates a will of some sort, right? We're not talking about objects.
Define will.
You don't know what I don't know what like.
So it's treating another being unfairly to benefit yourself. That's a good. What exploitation is.
Sentient being, I would add personally, because plants don't have sentience or consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Wait, hold on. Why do you not know what will means, Tosh?
I'm asking you to define it based off of your worldview. So
I just have the common English vernacular understanding of it.
which is because there's like 5 different.
What's your understanding of it?
Will is something of something. Something's like fruition, or like they're.
It's gonna be a
ability
hierarchy of
to-
wants.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Yeah. So again, what is again? We're talking about plants and exploiting plants, and plants are not, they're objects. They're not beings, right? Sentient beings.
I mean, we don't.
So how can you exploit something that doesn't have
100% truth? If you're gonna make a truth claim about something we don't know, then sure, right? We could say that we can leave it ambiguous, but to make a truth claim, that I think is also a stretch.
No, we know.
And we don't know that.
We don't know that.
But we do know.
No, we don't.
What we know.
I don't want to have a conversation with somebody that's dishonest.
I thought it was just.
I agree. Me neither.
I'm not gonna get into fill of mind right now, but that's also a really great. We have no idea.
I disagree. I think we have a fairly clear idea.
Okay, then can you give me the hard problem of consciousness then? Because
Sure,
I'd
what
love
about
to
it?
hear it.
What would you like to know? What is the question you have, or
Yeah, so
clarification you'd like
how
me to
can
please
we
provide?
know for certain that plants do not have consciousness?
We know that consciousness is derived only from a organ such as a brain of some sort.
How
Requires
do
some
we
sort
know
of
that that's the only way that consciousness, not sentience, occurs?
Describe the distinction.
Well, we're talking about your worldview, so what's the difference for you between consciousness and sentience?
I don't know. You use those words. I really didn't even.
No, again, we're having a
I've actually not
conversation
been
about your worldview, and so I need to know what
understand, but
you mean by conscious and
but
sentient.
you use these words in a conversation with me, so you're going to have
Cool.
to define
I'm gonna
the
use
words for me.
cool. So I'm gonna use consciousness to be anything that can experience qualia or can have a perspective of that. I'm gonna take sentience to be one that can have a first person perspective. And so those are going to be the distinction between the two of them for me in the symmetry breaker there.
Wait. Say it again. Consciousness is ability to experience qualia,
Yes.
and then sentience is what?
Is the ability to have a first person perspective.
So what's the symmetry breaker there? Because how can you have one without the other?
Perspective.
How can you experience anything if you don't have a perspective?
So a lot of people would say that like, oh, well, if you can't like have a first person view of qualia, then it's not qualia. I would say, yeah, sure. Can you tell me why that isn't the case?
I'm not following you.
Yeah, so do we need to have sentience to have qualia?
I don't even know what you mean by the distinction between sentience and consciousness.
Well, that's what I'm trying to explain.
Co-equal. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not really getting you. So
Your definition then, like she asked you, what is your definition of consciousness? What is your definition of sentience?
I would say the ability to perceive,
Okay, and consciousness.
to think, to feel, and to formulate some sort of thought.
And consciousness?
That's consciousness. That's what he just asked me.
Oh, what's sentience then?
I don't know. I didn't use that word, and I don't really see any distinction between the two. So
Oh, okay, so then we just have better terms than you because we're encompassing
just because
more.
you use more words doesn't necessarily mean you have better
No,
terms than
no,
me.
so I'm saying
Especially
that
when you
our
are unable
definition-
to explain the distinction between the two words. Because
Yeah, so I
as
did.
you've described them, they are co-equal and they are in no way really distinct from.
No, so I talked about the distinction being a first person perspective or a subjective perspective.
And you
So
need
I gave
that in
my
order to
symmetry
experience
breaker.
qualia. You didn't. You
Yes,
need
and I said that.
consciousness and sentience.
What does
is
experience
consciousness, as you
mean?
said.
Do you need to have a subjective perspective in order to have that? Okay, so what about qualia? Do you have to have
I don't think
a
qualia
subjective?
exists, actually, if I'm not mistaken. Define qualia for me.
Yeah, so it's going to be the sensation or experience. People use that word. I don't prefer that word. Of a response to a stimuli. So qualia would be the feeling of cold. Qualia would be the taste of ice cream.
Okay.
That's qualia.
So it's just a feeling? It's just perception?
Pretty much. I mean, it's
Why are
more
we
than
using
that,
more
and it's much more
complicated-
complicated, but...
Okay, what's the more complicated? What's the, like, well, because if you're using this word, then I need to understand the distinction, because, you know, then I'm not obviously understanding what you, because I would just have said perception.
Sure, and you can
And
say,
then you're
so
not-
perception
yeah.
of what? Right? Because that's the
Mhm.
important part. When I say qualia, it's always in a referent to
Mhm.
something else.
Okay.
So
I wouldn't
it's
necessarily. Okay,
referential.
sure.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's a reference. So what is it referencing?
So it
to
would
when
be
you feel cold?
referencing to the cold.
Right.
Cold
what
is the
that
referent.
But you just said that everything qualia is a comparative measure of some sort, right? So what is it comparing to?
No. Okay. Qualia.
Uh-huh.
Qualia is referential.
Mm-hmm. So what is it? What is the baseline reference, right? Everything is always
Again,
referencing something else. It's a difference
it's not
between different.
baseline. It is referent to something else.
Okay, what is it referencing to then?
The thing that it's referencing. So if I am
So
saying
it seems pretty circular then.
qualia is not like something that's saying like, oh, the qualia is grounded in this specific thing. No, it's the experience of a sensation or stimuli.
Okay.
So I just don't.
So again, it's just perception. Like again, I don't know. Seems needlessly complicated and doesn't seem to add any sort of
Someone who's not
clarification.
going to understand the difference is
Yeah, I think this is
not
like gobbledygook that people
not
make
gonna
up to like.
No, I mean you can think
know.
it's gobbledygook, but
Matter of
that
fact-
would just be like my understanding of them.
I got you. I got Matt Dillahunty. Do you know who that is by any chance?
Yeah, I'm aware with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna, cause I'm not understanding you, and it's no offense. You tried your best. I'm gonna listen to what he has to say. I take him as a pretty valid source of information for myself. I'm gonna get back to you. How's that sound?
I mean, that's
'Cause I'm
fine.
not- I don't
I
know.
don't
I
really
don't deal with
understand
these
why
kinds
you're
of
having a hard
philbo-
time understanding that it's referential to the thing that it's speaking about, right? So I
Yeah.
can't just say like qualia is qualia. Qualia is
Exactly,
the
like,
experience of a thing. Well, we
but
have
it's a
to be
reference to
talking about what
something else.
specific thing. It's funny, I was still talking.
Yeah, I know, and I'm adding some comment in between, and it's that I'm pointing out where we misaligned. It's a reference of a thing, but it's always compared to something else. So
Continue. Yeah.
around in a circle we go.
Yeah, so it's considered virtuously circular. Do you know the difference?
Continue. I'm listening.
Okay. Well, no, I'm kidding.
No, I just like, I don't know how to explain. I guess I'm doing something wrong with how I'm explaining qualia, which is the experience of a thing. So, like coldness, like the experience of a cold, the experience of heat, the experience of light. Like when I'm saying it's referential, I'm saying that it is the experience.
One thing I forgot is the check.
Huh?
Is that
what you prefer for me to pause
it as a check? Yeah, they avoid
Just mute him.
Pro Zach, did you know that you are
Bloody hell, mate.
Can you hear me?
got it. Oh. I can hear you now. I had a phone call.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I think I think which I think it's kind of getting quite a bit off topic again, which is whatever. But I think sentience is perceiving, feeling. Consciousness is a little bit more broader, where there's like reasoning involved and stuff like that, and like self-awareness and all that. So yeah, does that clear up anything?
Yeah, that's
Right on.
I think a decently. So I think of consciousness as the big one, sentience as the small one. Lots of things have consciousness, not a lot of things have sentience.
Yeah, I think, yeah. But yeah,
so
go ahead.
like maybe we have plants. Well, I would say that we do have plants with, some level of consciousness, but they would not be considered sentience.
I mean, I really don't know. Like, I really don't know when it comes to that. Like, and even so, like, let's just like let's steel man this whole thing. Plants. Let's say that they feel. They obviously don't have the same nervous system as animals like us or other animals. But when it comes to being vegan, you are choosing a route that is literally demanding less plants and less animals.
Oh, I'm not. I just was talking about.
No, I know.
sentience
I
and
was actually, I
consciousness.
was kind of just, I'm still trying to bring it back to the prompt here.
Well, I mean, I'm not, but that's because like we are different than other animals. We have a hierarchy of needs. Do I think that there are ways that we could ethically, and do I personally try to find ethically sourced meats and products? Yes.
See, this is where I wanted the conversation to go.
Yep. And so that's where I stand on the issue.
Yeah,
I am not vegan. I don't see. I think I see veganism as quite extreme, where I think vegetarianism is much more.
And I could say that what's
How is it
extreme.
extreme?
Yeah. So what I can say is extreme is literally breeding 92 billion land animals and unnecessarily catching 2.2 trillion marine life every single year for profit, pleasure, and tradition. Veganism is the ethical stance against exploitation. How can it be extreme to be kind and compassionate and wanting to lessen exploitation?
Sure. Yeah. So what I
Watch
mean
out that extreme
is,
talk, dog. Go ahead.
yeah. So when I'm talking about extreme, most of what I'm talking about are animal products that are made naturally, and we can go into milking and that specific industry. But things like honey, eggs, tallows that are produced, all of those things, if you want to actually reduce the amount of, which is why I don't understand veganism in the sense of like, you can't have anything with, tallow in it. Well, that tallow would go to waste if we weren't using it. So,
well, you have to understand. You also have to understand that
like,
you're breeding animals for the sole purpose of gaining a product from their body, which that's where tallow comes from, is their body.
Well, why should I care?
Well, because they're sentient. I mean, like, would you eat a dog?
It depends on the circumstance. I don't see any moral reason with eating a dog.
Would you eat a cow, depending on the circumstance, or would you just eat a hamburger anytime?
I mean, I would eat a hamburger depending on the situation. If I have a hamburger or if I have ethically sourced sausage in front of me, I'm probably going to go for the ethically sourced sausage in front of me.
What is ethically sourced?
Yeah,
ethically sourced are going to be sourced that are going to be
before
local.
you go down this further down this line. Wait, do you think it's good to have empathy and compassion?
So I don't know what you mean by good in this situation. Are we talking morally good as in oughts, or are we talking about good as in like societally beneficial? Like, what do we mean?
So do you find it, I guess, do you find it morally to be compassionate and empathetic? Do you find that moral, and are you compassionate and empathetic?
Normatively, and yes, but not meta-ethically. I don't think morals exist meta-ethically, and so
So ethically, so morally, would you consume a dog if they were ethically, in your words, ethically sourced?
Sure.
Why would you do that?
Because they are an animal and I am a human.
We are all animals.
We are also animals.
Yes, but we are of the same species. There's a difference.
What's the morally relevant difference between a dog and you?
I didn't talk about a morally relevant difference.
Well, I'm asking you, what's the morally relevant difference?
I don't believe in morals, so I don't know what you're asking me.
So it wouldn't be a problem if I were to eat you.
No, it would be because we are of the same species and we share the same social contract.
Why does that matter?
Yeah,
what's the relevance of that?
Cool. Yeah,
and
we
Landon,
share.
that's why. One second, Landon. That's why I asked. Do you care? Do you think it's a good thing to have compassion and empathy? Because she's not operating from the same framework. She just genuinely doesn't care. It seems like for the suffering of others. So probably better to establish the baseline of behavior first.
Well, I would like to say I do care for the suffering of others greatly.
But you just said, why should I care? It's another
Yes, I'm
species.
having a meta-ethical understanding and a meta-ethical examination of someone's worldview. And I'm autistic, so I'm just talking the way I normally talk. Like, yes, if you're asking me, do I think do you think I should treat humans with love and kindness? I do every day. I love people.
Right, but I didn't ask you just about humans, right? Like I said others, and I'm including all sentient life, and including that means all animals. I'm extending it to, and Landon is as well.
Okay, so why should
animals.
you extend the same social contract to animals?
I mean, you don't have to do anything. All of this is subjective, right? Morality is subjective, yes?
Then why ought you?
I think because I value, because I understand suffering and pain, and I dislike it, and so I'm going to offer that same consideration for any other being that can also experience the same things, because I'm not a psychopath.
Sorry, was the insinuation there that I was, or just no?
No, there's no insinuation.
Okay, I wasn't
You're
sure.
telling me, you're asking me rather, why should I care? I'm telling you, this is why. I mean, not you care. Why do I care? This is why. Empathy is the core basis of human beings, right? We work
I
together
still
as a
have
community.
empathy. I don't understand what you mean.
No, I don't think you do. You just told me you don't care about animals who suffering. You just said that. Did you not?
I said, why should I care about them over my own species?
When did anybody say over your own species? When was that ever?
Yeah, you don't have to do that.
Okay, then
I
what's
wouldn't
the
do
point
that.
of?
Look, if I'm going to choose a human to save versus an animal, I'm probably going to pick that human. Unless
That depends on the human, in my opinion. But
yeah, unless it's that's what I'm saying. Unless it's a shitty human, right? I never said over. I'm saying right now, and I'm glad you brought that up. We are choosing purposefully to harm animals for no other reason except we enjoy it.
Well, and I don't like that. I think that we should make changes to make it more ethical, but I don't see a problem with eating meat on a moral level. And because I don't believe that morals exist, so we're going to talk about it I don't think that it is something you ought not to do.
Okay, so ethically,
go ahead.
So let me ask you a question. This is kind of a strange question, but let's say that you found out that there was a part of the world that we thought this group of people were humans, but there were some tests and it showed that they were not human. Would it be okay to ethically, in your words, because I don't think you can ethically source a being and use their flesh or any part of their body, or use them, period, ethically if it's completely unnecessary. So, but let's say that there was these beings that were not human. Would it be then okay if they looked like us, just acted like us, but scientifically they were not humans? Could we use them?
Again, you're asking me on a moral level?
I'm asking you, since you said that they're not humans, I don't give them the same consideration. If you found out that another being that looked like humans were not human, would it, in your eyes, would you find it okay and ethical to use them?
Well, I have questions. Have we granted these individuals personhood or humanhood?
I mean, you thought that they were human until you found out that they weren't.
Cool. Then I would consider them a part of my species.
But, okay, so it doesn't really matter if they're actually human or not. It's a social construct.
No, it's not a social construct.
Yeah,
It's whether or not they are given and granted personhood.
So what does personhood have to deal with?
It's a legal distinction for you?
Yeah. What does personhood have anything to do with granting moral consideration?
Yeah, so when it comes to personhood, those are going to be individuals that fall under the same category as us. So often, and also there have been some animals who have received personhood, which is kind of funny, and I always love those stories, but I digress. Personhood being the ability of first-person experience. What are all of the other ones?
Yeah, so that's every animal that we're using currently.
Animal can have first.
No, I know. I'm just having a memory.
I mean, that's fine, but
problem.
going alone with that one, that singular criteria, wouldn't an animal be given that consideration then? Doesn't every animal have personhood? Doesn't
no.
a cow feel pain and suffering and loss?
So yeah, the ability to feel pain, suffering, and loss is not something that gives personhood.
Okay, but didn't you just say personal experience?
The ability to communicate.
Okay, animals can communicate.
Yep.
Wait. What if an animal can't communicate, but it can feel, and we know it can feel? We can observe from its behavior. Like fish. Fish we know can feel pain. We've tested.
Sure, but we can also know that animals, or we can test that plants react to that stimuli too. So it's whether or not they're conscious of this, or whether or not it's in reaction.
We know for a fact that fish can actually have a brain structure, and that it has the processing capacity to render something called as pain. And we also know that plants do not.
Again,
this is
why
a weird topic to no scientist in the world will agree with you that plants have consciousness. This is a dead unalive topic. Like, why do you keep going back there? This is bizarre.
Yeah, no, I'm simply asking about. I was bringing it back to the qualia, but either way, we're giving moral oughts. And that just doesn't work with my.
Yeah, so tell me how personhood or whatever. Why is that the only thing that deserves consideration from you?
It's not that that's the only thing that deserves consideration. However, that is the separating factor between humans and.
So it's arbitrary.
Sure, it can be arbitrary. We can move it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very arbitrary. You're literally saying that it's like it's just my group deserves moral consideration from me, but not others. Even though you said that you want others to be treated well, which is strange because you said that you don't really care about them, but they deserve some ethical thing. It just doesn't make sense to me. So if you're using a sentient being that can feel all these things just like us, just because they don't have the same intelligence as us, doesn't mean that we should be using them unnecessarily. And I want you to give me a reason why we should.
I don't think we should be using them unnecessarily.
That's what we're doing.
I don't think that eating them is unnecessary.
Eating them is absolutely unnecessary.
It's completely unnecessary.
Okay.
What is the necessity of eating an animal?
Cool. So it depends on the individual, right?
No, you. Let's talk about you.
Sure. If I were to start going on a vegan diet, I would most likely just develop my eating disorder. Because we have to remember also that some individuals need to eat certain foods due to dietary restrictions.
Yeah, we're talking about you. So a plant-based diet if you were vegan. So why, so explain now. So we're talking about you.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be able to do it for mental health reasons, not physical reasons, which I'm assuming you would just hold to be unnecessarily arbitrary.
Well, no, I mean, if they're I think that if you connected with what we were saying, I think anybody that would connect with it would look into what we're saying, and because right now it just sounds like you've made a huge disconnect between yourself and other animals. So I think you've given you already have that base thing of they're not me, they're not part of my group, therefore we can exploit them. So what you're saying now, your mental disorder is now just another thing to grant you, saying that it's just giving you some more ammo to not think about other beings.
Again, I think that you're moral pumping this. Again, when I have said that I hold to a moral anti-realist position.
Okay,
And
then why should animals be treated ethically?
I think that we can minimize unnecessary
But why?
suffering. But I think that
Why
the
should we do
best way to
that?
handle this is going to be local hunting.
Why should we do that? Why should we give them
biodiversity?
Why should we do that ethically?
Because we should do everything ethically.
Why?
Because it's the best way to reach the most optimal level of like human flourishing.
No, I mean that's not necessarily true.
I mean, I just hold that ethics are going to be the best way to go about.
So you have ethics. So ethics should be considered, but morals shouldn't.
Again, what do you mean by moral? A moral ought?
So what about an ethic ought?
So ethics are normative, right? They're subject to change.
Yes, I mean just as morals are as well.
Sure, it depends, depending.
Yeah. So okay. So let's just not talk about morals anymore. Let's talk about ethics. So
Sure.
what's the, like? So you okay? If you want to stick to what you're saying, that doing the most ethical thing is going to help us flourish the most, being a vegan is the most ethical thing.
I mean, in a perfect utopian society, potentially.
No, it absolutely is right now.
No, right now we have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of individuals that are relying on these industries. And while you can say that that's not the case, I'd like you to go to anyone who's living paycheck to paycheck, right? They can't afford.
I'm doing that right now. I'm doing that right now.
That's a lie.
Just so you know, veganism isn't just a diet. Plant-based diet goes along with veganism, but the vegan ideology is to lessen exploitation where it is practical and possible of sentient beings. That's what veganism is. So you saying that it's the most ethical thing to do, or sorry, that in order, like we should be doing the most ethical thing, you would have a vegan ideology, and you would look into veganism because that it's literally about not oppressing others.
So I'm fine with as an ideological standpoint. However, I don't hold that it is that actually. So when I'm speaking about veganism here, I'm speaking about not eating meat or meat products.
Yeah. So you're not. So no offense, not trying to be rude, but you don't know what veganism is.
No, I mean, that's fine. I can be educated on it. And at this point, I was under the assumption that it was a lifestyle in the sense of it's just not consuming animal products.
No. So a plant-based diet goes along with veganism. And I agree with you that some people aren't able to follow that because of their...
Like an Eskimo isn't going to have beans to eat, right? Like probably they're going to have to rely on seal or whatever.
Yeah. So we're talking, that's why like I really like this prompt here. Why aren't you vegan? So veganism literally is the ethical stance against the unnecessary exploitation of sentient beings where it is practicable and possible. So if you agree with that, you should and it doesn't matter about your morals, you sound like a person that has ethics. So if you find yourself to be an ethical person, you should look into what we're talking about.
No, I mean, obviously I've done some looking into veganism. Most of it is just negative. And it's also mostly because it's never something that I've been very passionate about.
Yeah, you should. You
pretty
understand
apathetic.
now, right?
No. Don't tell me I should. Don't tell me I should, because that's not.
Why?
Sure, because I don't whether or not I should or shouldn't look into something isn't what you should be telling me to do.
Yes, I asked you why. I didn't ask you to restate that. I understand that's what you said. I'm asking you why. I shouldn't say you should.
Why shouldn't you say that I should? Because it's rude and condescending?
How is it rude and condescending?
Because I felt rude. I felt as if it was rude and condescending.
Okay.
So I would say if you feel like you are a ethical, compassionate, empathetic person, then you should look into veganism.
Looking into veganism.
Don't say that. It might be rude, right?
Well, it depends. If we're talking about should as in moral oughts or not. Again, I'm trying to be very concise and clear with my language.
I think that if you feel yourself to be an ethical person and you want to be the most ethical you can, I think that looking into veganism, looking into documentaries, and just the idea in general, if you feel you're an ethical person, I would urge you to do that.
If you feel like you're an ethical person, oh man.
I think she's just gonna take everything you say
I'm not
in a
trying to be
dismissive way.
rude. I'm not saying that.
No, I understand
She's
that,
taking
like,
this
on a,
contentiously,
I'm
and
understand.
she's been condescending this whole time. I don't get.
No,
the double,
I'm
standards
autistic.
here.
There's a
I don't
difference.
care. That's not relevant. You've been rude too. I tried to be like anyway. Whatever. I don't care about this emotional outburst. It's not
Apparently, you
relevant.
can be vegan and still
Um,
eat meat, which is nice.
Well, if you're doing it straight out of survival and not out of
Yeah, so,
pleasure,
yeah.
then yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say, like, why should the suffering of animals matter to me?
Right, and that's what initially I was trying to get across.
Yeah, why should it matter?
Nothing like, again, like your at the end of the day, your metric or your ethical compass is going to be set by you, right? Or what you care about or don't care about.
But sure, it's gonna be based on those sorts of things, like what I
Right, and
grew
I
up
care
with,
for
things like that.
I care for the happiness and well-being of all life, because I think to not care is showing callous indifference, and it's cruel. It's hard. It's to me, from my perspective, it's terrible to harm another being for my pleasure. It seems very psychopathic, dismissive to harm someone else. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I value life, I guess. I value happiness. I value safety and well-being of others.
No, I value all of those too for humans.
But you can't. Right. Yours is limited. There's a small concentric circle, and it's humans, and everyone outside can go get fucked. And
You
that
say
doesn't make sense to me.
everyone outside. It's everything.
Everyone.
outside.
No, it's everyone. There's a difference.
Why are
between-
animals?
Oh
why is
wait,
an
do
animal a
you
thing?
give full you give full moral consideration to animals? Full moral consideration to animals.
Wait, let's say I don't.
Hold
Let's
on.
say I. Go ahead.
So you have to realize someone is someone that literally has a brain and a nervous system and can feel. So that is every animal that you're talking about. An animal is an individual, as someone. A thing is a chair, a cup,
It's an object.
a computer.
It doesn't have. It's just an object. Do you understand at least that there's a big difference between those two? Let's say other animals are not the same level as humans, and you don't give them the same level. But at least, can you understand this being is suffering needlessly?
Yes. Again,
Can
which
you
is why I think
you
that we
agree
can
that
minimize
might-
that suffering, right?
Right, but minimize it to the point that we don't have to do it at all. We simply do it because we can. How is that a defensible position?
How is that a defensible position? Because again,
To harm
I
for
don't
fun.
hold, I do not hold that animals and humans be given the same quote unquote moral.
I didn't.
You haven't
can even
explained
give
why
them
that
a-
should be.
Yeah.
Why
you
that should
but-
be?
Yeah,
Because
why
they are
shouldn't you? Why
different
shouldn't they-
species. We are literally
Why does that matter?
herbivores.
Tell me what
This is
what
how
is-
this is
what is
how
the importance of the species designation that excludes them from having any sort of consideration?
I'm sorry.
What does
Hello?
that matter if they're a different species? They can still feel, right? They can still feel the pain. That same type of pain that you can feel, they can feel it. They just can't vocalize it and verbalize it as the same way that you can.
Yeah,
But they
but see,
still have the suffering.
we're giving you actual reasons why, and you're just giving arbitrary
Why?
traits.
You're just saying why? Why should I? Why should I?
You're
Well,
saying
yeah, because
you're saying
I have-
humans, species, and we're saying literally feelings we can all feel. You're just saying, oh, they're a human, they're not, and you're not giving a reason why that is justifiable.
Sure. So it's the same. It would be very similar as to why I give moral considerations to fetuses after a specific point, right? Because once it gains personhood, it gains sentience, it gains access to
Again,
this.
another social contract thing that you're talking about.
Again, I'm not saying that it's not a social contract.
But tell me the why.
Tell me why that social contract is the better one. I don't know.
No, why do species don't?
So there you
why
go.
should this why should the species not be given the consideration? Shouldn't it be that the default is every being that can suffer pain should be given the consideration and should be we should avoid trying to cause that being pain.
Sure, I think I can be behind
Right?
that. So what do you think
we should
about
start
ethical consumerism? So raising a cow. So raising a cow for the majority of its life, making sure the cow is well taken care of, that it's milked properly, and then that the meat is used upon, unalive.
Yeah, if the cow, I guess, unalives of natural causes, I don't know, maybe that's defensible. I'm not, Landon, you could jump in on that.
I would say
unaliving,
no. I would say
even
if you're
then,
using
sure.
if you're using an animal, if you have a condition for loving that animal, that's where it becomes a problem.
No, yeah, Missy, I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I
if
guess
you're
I just
raising
don't
that
give them the
animal
same
to
moral
unalive
consideration,
it-
and I can go look into why I don't.
Yeah, I think you should definitely think about that and then verbalize back to either of us or whomever, whatever, what the cutoff is, what the distinction is, because you're not telling me. You're just telling me I just don't.
You'll never get me with honey, though. That makes no sense.
Yeah, I think so. I think what it comes down to, and I'm not trying to be rude here, it's just the ignorance of animal agriculture in general.
Yeah.
And I think that if you can hear or understand what we're saying at all, you should check it out. You should look into it. So there's documentaries out there that are very, very informative on what's happening every single day. And like I said, if you can
billions and billions every day just for fun, just because we.
I
can.
like
And there's
again. I'm
no-
not saying whoop-de-doo. We should do that. I'm saying like
Didn't you-
I
didn't
think
you
there
literally
is still an
say,
ethical
yeah, we
way to
should?
consume this.
Yeah, I think that you feel that way because it doesn't
In
sound
which
like
way
you've
could
really
it be
questioned it
ethical?
before.
to unalive to raise someone for the purpose of exploiting them with a condition, and then brutally like if I raised you and then I'm like, yeah, when you're 19, I'm just gonna grape you. I'm sorry for saying that. I apologize. Like I'm not trying to hurt your feelings or anything, but it's just painting out the horror of such a situation. Would that be ethical if I treated you well all the 19 years before I assaulted you? And you know what? Let's just scratch that. I don't want to like trigger anybody. Let's just make a person X, and let's say I'm raising that person to do something horrible to them after a certain point. Does the rest prior to stuff that I did before, which was nice, somehow excuse the horror that comes after?
I think that she would go back to them being a human being.
Yeah.
But let's say for an animal, let's say that just put an animal in that space. Like why wouldn't we give moral consideration? Or sorry, I don't know why this moral thing is a hang up for you, but let's say an ethical.
Because I'm a moral anti-realist. That's why it's a hang up.
Yeah, I mean, I think morals could be just a poetic expression for knowing what is right and wrong in your heart. And
Again, what is right and wrong?
yeah, so me punching you in the face would be wrong.
Well-being and
me telling you something kind would be right. It's very simple.
So is it is it based on emotion? Is it based on societal construct?
Sure, I would say feeling should be the majority reason of why you should or shouldn't do something.
So do morals exist?
Yeah, as part of your brain.
Yes. So I honestly like the whole like philosophy talk, it's very, very boring to me because it doesn't get to actual like root things. It gets to just like it becomes very abstract.
Man.
Well, yeah, but that's why I enjoy talking about
Well, that's cool. That's cool.
And that's fine,
I
but
hear you.
if
Yeah,
it's leading you to not actually consider the actual real implications of the world and like it's actually
Well, no,
allowing
I
you
mean
to
I'm going to
justify
continue
horror,
to eat
it's
meat. Like there is probably nothing that anyone will ever say that will change my mind.
Yeah. So
about
just so you
that
know,
you'll always
I said
continue
the
to
same
eat
thing.
meat.
Most likely.
I said the same thing. Every vegan you'll ever talk to said the exact same thing. So just so you know, like I literally.
No, I'm saying that if I limit my diet in any way, I will shrivel away into nothing and die.
But you don't have to limit your diet. That's what I'm trying to say. You could.
But it is a limitation of a diet. It is a limitation of a diet.
No, it's not. You could get the same exact.
No, what I'm saying is
requirements.
no. What I'm saying is that it is changing the way you consume food. It is putting any sort of change onto your diet. That is not safe for everyone.
And you're saying that you would shrivel and die because you're autistic. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. I have anorexia. I've had anorexia my whole life. I struggle
you
with it
could
daily.
you could still. That's what I'm saying. You could
Meat
change
is
that
the
diet.
most probably effective way to get me to eat.
Right, but you
And
could
it
change
provides
that
the
diet.
most
You could
nutrients that I need.
you could substitute whatever that would fit those parameters and get all the same things you need and be just fine. Why wouldn't you in that case? Like you're purposefully saying no, especially fuck these animals. I'm going to do it anyway just to spite them.
No. You're not gonna moral pump and say that I'm going around
I don't
with
know
my
what moral
meat in my
pump
hand
means.
going
I know
like,
you're like a philsis,
look at little
but I'm
Bambi.
not. I'm like a normal dude. I do not do Philbro discussions. So you're gonna have to speak to me like a normal person. I know
Yeah,
you're
I
like
mean, that's
very
fine, right? So then
entrenched
I
in
would say
this
that morals
sphere, but
don't
I'm not.
exist. There's not
I
actually
agree
anything
with
that
you.
is really right and really wrong. That's just
I
a
disagree with
societal
you on that.
construct.
Yes, so
Because it
what?
is pleasurable within society and it is societally acceptable, I think we can argue for the unethicalness of it. However, it is still within our ethical framework because it hasn't changed yet.
So according
So
to
your
your
guys
logic,
are trying to change it
hold
to
on,
your
Missy.
perspective.
You
That's
said morals
great.
don't exist, therefore none of this matters. Is what I'm getting. If I translated that properly. So
No,
according
morals
to your
don't
logic,
exist.
I can just
So
go
when
and
you're
grape
talking
and
about it on
murder
a
people all I want, and it doesn't really matter. None of this matters.
no, again, so we're talking about meta ethics and then we're talking about normative ethics. So what I'm
Okay,
saying
I don't care about any of those things. Like, please stay with me where I was at. I
I'm
don't even
trying
know.
to so
Fuck.
I'm trying to finish that. Meta ethics are the very core of what makes something wrong, what makes something right. Do they exist?
Okay.
Applied ethics or normative ethics are saying, okay, this is the best way to treat this thing.
So, is it the best way to treat treat a sentient being without causing it undue harm?
To define best, it depends on what referent we're using.
Okay, man. I think.
Is it the best for the animal? Yeah. Is it the best for the humans?
Yes.
Maybe not.
Why wouldn't it be best for humans to
So-
not harm another living being needlessly?
Because there are like certain people that enjoy and need this for their diet.
Okay, so these people that unalive animals merely for pleasure, because there's nobody that needs meat. That's just not scientifically true. There's just nothing. There's no science.
I think there might be like maybe one or two like conditions that where
I can't think of them. Which one?
I mean, here's the thing.
It doesn't even really matter, but there's like one where like I think it's oh man, I can't even think.
I mean,
it's so
I mean, I do have to go because I have to go make dinner and stuff. But I mean, again, at the end of the day, it comes down to personhood for me. I'll look into it and get back to you guys and talk to more with some of my other friends and what does that look like and some of my other philosophy people. But
I think
gotta
you really
go.
love philosophical debates, and that's great and all. But like, I would really like you to consider like that's a living being, and you're harming it for no needless reasons.
So yeah, so check these out. Watch Dominion on YouTube and watch Cowspiracy on Netflix. I urge you to watch those. If you find yourself to be compassionate and empathetic, I think that you'd be doing yourself a service to look into those two documentaries.
All right, will do. Thanks,
Take care.
guys. Bye, Coco.
You're
I'll
great.
talk to you later.
Great talking with you, Landon. Coco, I'm gonna drop. Thank you
you
guys.
too. I'm gonna drop as well.
Great meeting everybody here. See you guys.
Hello, guys. Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, I feel bad everyone's dropping on you.
Oh, that's fine. So, why am I not vegan? Mostly health-wise, but I guess you could say meat tastes really good.
Mm-hmm. So you would say that taste pleasure justifies exploitation?
It doesn't justify, it just has an upside.
Yeah. So I mean, there's an upside to a lot of like really unethical things.
Sure.
But that's not a good justification, though, right?
Like if you look at it from what's it called? Standpoint.
I'm sorry. If you get out of the app, you can't. I won't be able to hear you.
Hello, utilitarian. I mean, standpoint.
Okay.
But also, I look at it health-wise because vegans are deficient in a lot of vitamins.
No, I've been vegan for 8 years. I'm not deficient in anything.
Then how do you get B12?
Yeah, so there's fortified foods. There's I can name just a couple. There's plant milks that are fortified in B12. There's nutritional yeast, cereals. You can take supplements. You can there's all sorts of things. There's a seitan. Some tofu is fortified with B12. So there's a lot of things.
And heme iron, vitamin A.
Yeah, you can get iron. You don't need heme iron. Heme iron is not actually heme iron can be non-beneficial for your body. So you can get iron from other plant-based items as well.
Sure, but it's insignificant and it's lower.
No, you can get a lot of iron from plant-based items.
Sure, but vitamin A, what about it?
Yeah, so really you can get all essential amino acids, nutrients from plant-based diet.
Yeah, again, but if you can say that, why not take supplements? Why,
Yeah, you can take supplements. There's nothing wrong with taking supplements.
Oh, but really it's easier to just eat meat and...
Well, because you wouldn't be supporting exploitation at that point. And just so you know, animals, like the majority of the animals that you consume are actually supplemented B12 themselves. They are injected with B12.
All right, guys. I think
yes.
I think I'm gonna take a break. Actually, sorry.
all good.
Sorry. But
damn.
I'll be around.
Cool. That's it. Thanks for having me up.